Chapter 3195. Senior Heaven Defying. No matter how chaotic the sea of evil is this time, I will go. Night Sorrow said slowly, to be honest, my goal is the 8th level of the Eternal Divine Tower. This time, I want to take advantage of the chaos to get it. I see. After going to the Sea of Evil, if there is a chance, I will help you get it. Heaven Defying said and continued, that's right. As someone from the Eternal Supreme Realm, how did you manage to hide in the foggy area unscathed? Night Sorrow has merit power on him. He can resist and purify the fog. Night Sorrow did not hide this matter and said directly. Hearing this, Heaven Defying said, I have been in the fog for so many years and have been seriously corroded by the fog. After the formation of the Sea of Evil is over, can you help me purify the fog? I can't let my master fight alone. Good. Night Sorrow will definitely help Senior Heaven Defying. Night Sorrow nodded and said, to him, Heaven Defying is willing to return to the Eternal Supreme World. That is a great thing. He is naturally willing to help. Very good. Next, we will plan the trip to the Sea of Evil. At that time, I will let Yunyi and Xianyan help you. Heaven Defying said and continued, originally, I came to find you this time because I have something to say. But now, there is no need for that. Senior Heaven Defying, do you have a map of the Sea of Evil? If you have a map, we can plan early. Night Sorrow felt that to plan before taking action, he must know himself and the enemy. I have a map, but it is drawn based on some of my memories. It is not very comprehensive. After all, with my identity, it is not suitable for me to travel in the Sea of Evil. Heaven Defying took out a simple map and handed it to Night Sorrow. The Sea of Evil has always been a forbidden area for cultivators, so the map is not very detailed. Looking at the map, Night Sorrow said, to be honest, this map is not very useful. It is not of much help to our plan. I have an idea. That is to choose some reliable people to enter the Sea of Evil and secretly set up some teleportation arrays. When we reach the Sea Dragon Imperial City, we will set up some more. Once we get what we want, we can activate the teleportation portal and teleport out. Oh, why don't you set up a teleportation array from Sea Dragon Imperial City to Sea Dragon City? Hearing Night Sorrow's words, the Sea Dragon City Lord asked with some puzzlement. Sea Dragon Imperial City was not too far away from Sea Dragon City. It was safe to build a teleportation array. I feel that after the war starts, Sea Dragon Imperial City will most likely activate a large formation to block the use of the teleportation formation. Therefore, most of the teleportation arrays set up in the Imperial City were not useful. Therefore, they needed to set up more traps in the periphery. This is probably the principle of a crafty rabbit having 3 burrows. Night Sorrow explained his reasons. He felt that since he was going to do this, he should be more prepared. That makes sense. In that case, I think we can set up a teleportation formation in the Sea of Evil to other areas. Now that I've obtained the item, I don't have to return to Sea Dragon City. Heaven Defying felt that what Night Sorrow said made sense. He simply prepared to teleport to other areas and not give the Sea Dragon King a chance to chase after them. Hearing this, Night Sorrow fell silent. He knew that if he made such a choice, the Sea Dragon City on the surface would definitely be plunged into misery and suffering. Are you worried about the cultivators of Sea Dragon City? They are all people from the fog area. Isn't it better to be slaughtered? What's there to worry about? Seeing Night Sorrow fall silent, Heaven Defying immediately realized what was going on with him. From the standpoint of the Eternal Supreme World, it is indeed a good thing for them to be slaughtered. But they were slaughtered because of us. This matter makes me feel a little apologetic. Night Sorrow said. This went against his Tao heart. How about this? I will leave a clone in Sea Dragon City. When we head to the Sea of Evil, we will take everyone into the Space Grotto Heaven. Take them away. Let Sea Dragon City become an empty city. After listening to Night Sorrow, Heaven Defying thought for a moment and said, that's good too. Night Sorrow nodded and then transmitted his voice to Heaven Defying. Senior Heaven Defying, after reaching the Sea of Evil, you will definitely face the Sea Dragon King. I wonder if you know the Supreme Dragon Subduing Technique? Supreme Dragon Subduing Technique? That seems to be Master's ultimate skill. I don't know it. Heaven Defying replied truthfully. I will teach you. This Supreme Dragon Subduing Technique is very useful against dragons. Night Sorrow recalled his previous battle. At that time, he used the Supreme Dragon Subduing Technique and summoned a huge Kuan Peng and easily defeated his opponent. With that, he led Heaven Defying into the cultivation room and taught him the Supreme Dragon Subduing Technique. Very good. After learning this Supreme Dragon Subduing Technique, I should not be at a disadvantage when fighting the Sea Dragon King. The only problem now is that there are too few of us left. We are far inferior to the Sea Dragon of the Sea of Evil. Therefore, we have to end the battle quickly. After we succeed, we will immediately escape. After obtaining the Supreme Dragon Subduing Technique, Heaven Defying did not have Night Sorrow's comprehension ability and did not immediately master it. But he is confident that he can master it in the next 10 years. After he finished speaking, Night Sorrow continued, after we get the item, Senior Heaven Defying can take everyone in and use Heaven Defying 9 steps to escape. Find the teleportation array and leave directly. But for now, we still need to find some people to go to the Sea of Evil and make arrangements in advance. Yes, but there are definitely spies of the Sea Dragons in the Sea Dragon City. It won't be easy to keep this a secret. Tian and I said and then asked, do you and your friends have the confidence to complete this matter? We can only say that we will do our best because we don't know what the situation is over there. Night Sorrow said truthfully. Then you and your friends, Yun Yi and Xian Yan, go together. Try to set up some teleportation arrays at the edge of the Sea of Evil, and check if it is possible to go to the depths of the Sea of Evil. If it is safe, set up some teleportation arrays. Heaven Defying said and explained, as for me, if I enter rashly, I will be discovered by the Sea Dragon King. That will affect the overall situation. Alright, leave this matter to me. But first, we have to set up a few teleportation arrays in the secret area of the Sea Dragon City. If we encounter a strong enemy in the Sea of Evil, we can use the teleportation arrays to escape. Night Sorrow said slowly. Alright, follow me to the City Lord's secret room. Just nice, you can take some useful resources from there. The Heaven Defying Bead said and led Yi Shang to his secret chamber. This secret chamber was not only his cultivation room, but also his treasure trove. All the resources that he had accumulated over the years are all inside. After entering the secret room, Heaven Defying looked at Night Sorrow and said, take whatever you need. Chapter 3196. Collect as I wish? Then Night Sorrow won't be courteous. Setting up the teleportation array indeed requires a lot of materials. In addition, I want to set up some array formations at the location of the teleportation array. This all requires materials. After Night Sorrow finished speaking, he collected all kinds of materials in the secret room. At this time, Tian and I said, don't just collect materials. In the secret room, there are also resources that can be used for cultivation, as well as black thorn crystals, talismans, etc. Collect whatever you need. After you are done collecting, I will keep these things in my space. After all, I probably won't return to Sea Dragon City in the future. Alright, I won't be courteous with the things I need. Night Sorrow did not stand on ceremony with Tian and I. Both sides exchanged to learn Tian and I 9 steps and Supreme Dragon Subduing Technique. Compared to these two absolute arts, the resources in front of him were nothing. After spending about 4 hours, Night Sorrow collected all the resources he needed. He found Tian and I and said, Senior Tian and I have collected all the resources I need. Next, I can start setting up the teleportation array. Alright. No one can enter here. You can set it up as you wish. Tian and I nodded. At this time, although he had been in human form, his body still had the sharpness of a sword. Alright. In addition, I will set up an array formation around the teleportation array. After Night Sorrow finished speaking, he set up the teleportation array in the secret room. After finishing, he set up a 5-bull array around it. After the array was set up, Night Sorrow looked at Tian and I and said, Senior Tian and I, what needs to be set up has been completed. Next, I will go to the Sea of Evil with my friends. You can cultivate the Supreme Dragon subduing technique in peace. Go. Take this jade pendant. If you encounter an irresistible danger, crush it and I will immediately appear. Tian and I took out a white jade pendant and handed it to Night Sorrow. Receiving the cold jade pendant, Night Sorrow said, I will try my best to be careful. Unless it is a last resort, I will not crush it. Go. Tian and I did not say anything else and let Night Sorrow leave with a sentence. He cultivated the Supreme Dragon subduing technique in the secret room. This absolute art was definitely a trump card against the Sea Dragon King. He had to learn it. However, the heaven-defying bead was, after all, a divine weapon that had gained sentience. Its comprehension ability was not as high as Night Sorrow's, so its progress was slower. While Tian and I was learning the Supreme Dragon subduing technique, Night Sorrow gathered Whirling Lady, Su Lei, No Flower, and Ape Tianlai. I finally have something to do. After Night Sorrow explained the purpose of his trip, Dancing Woman revealed a smile on her face. During these days in Sea Dragon City, she felt extremely bored and suffocated. Everyone be careful. The sea dragons of the evil sea are extremely powerful. We should not attack them unless we have no other choice. While flying towards the Sea of Evil, he said to Su Lei, How are your injuries? Su Lei had the bloodline of Yu Jia and was very talented in battle. He should be even more powerful than Dancing Woman and could be considered a very powerful helper. I've almost fully recovered. I should be able to fight against ordinary Middle Heavenly Sovereigns. After a period of interaction, Su Lei was no longer so repulsed by Night Sorrow, so he replied. However, the tone of her voice was still the same as before, and it didn't sound very friendly. Very good. If we encounter a sea dragon and can't avoid it, we must kill it quickly. We must kill him as soon as possible. We can't expose ourselves. Yi Shang added. He then glanced at the others and said, If we can get this done quietly, our journey to the Ocean of Evil will be very smooth. After it's over, I will not mistreat everyone. You don't have to be so courteous. Since we have already arrived here, we will not be calculative about the reward. After Night Sorrow finished speaking, Whirling Lady replied, You just need to remember that you owe us a favor this time. Everyone, I will not forget this favor. Don't worry. After Night Sorrow said this, he reminded everyone, We are already very close to the Sea of Evil. Let's lower our flying altitude and sneak in quietly. But I will scout the way. After Whirling Lady finished speaking, she opened the vertical eye on her forehead and observed the Sea of Evil in front of them. She was looking for a way to enter the Sea of Evil for everyone. Night Sorrow said, I will be on guard. If I find any enemies, I will alert everyone immediately. After that, he opened the eye of the sea serpent and observed the surroundings. We will try our best to suppress our auras. After Yen Tianlai said this, he suppressed his aura and became similar to that of an ordinary person. Although the others did not say anything, they did the same. They all knew that in the Sea of Evil, there was a sea dragon king that they could not fight against, as well as many other dangerous existences. No one dared to be careless. Everyone, follow me. I have found a good route. Whirling Lady, who was holding a map, said as she looked at the situation in the sea. Let's go. The others immediately followed her into the Sea of Evil. As soon as they entered the Sea of Evil, they felt an evil aura rushing towards them. This aura contained an extremely crazy and bloodthirsty aura. Although they had lived in the foggy area for a long time, they were still not used to it. Whirling Lady frowned and said, If we stay in this environment for a long time, we will definitely be affected by this aura and our minds will become extremely violent. That will be detrimental to our cultivation. We must speed up our operation this time. Yes. We can't stay here for long. Let's end this quickly. No Flower also said very uncomfortably. The others' expressions were also very solemn. Although the aura of the foggy area could also make people crazy, there was a limit. The Sea of Evil was completely different. It would make people lose control. Let's get as close to Sea Dragon Imperial City as possible and set up a few teleportation arrays around it. Then we can leave. At this moment, Night Sorrow explained and continued, let's hurry up and move forward. In fact, he was not afraid of this evil aura because he had the power of merit in his body. However, he could not use the power of merit to help anyone other than Yen Tianlai. Attention! 10,000 miles ahead, there is a sea dragon undergoing tribulation. We must avoid it immediately. As soon as Night Sorrow finished speaking, Whirling Lady, who had been observing the front, reminded him. In front of them was a sea dragon who had just advanced to Sky Supreme and was undergoing tribulation. His strength was definitely weaker than Night Sorrow and the others. If they went forward, it was very likely that they would be able to kill the other party instantly. However, a sea dragon's tribulation would cause a lot of commotion and might alarm other sea dragons. Therefore, they had to leave this place immediately. Not good. There are many sea dragons rushing over nearby. We have to hide on the spot or we will definitely be exposed. At this moment, Night Sorrow reminded them silently. He realized that the commotion caused by the sea dragon's tribulation had indeed attracted many sea dragons. If they did not leave and hide, they would definitely be discovered. Chapter 3197. Where can we hide at such a close distance? No Flower asked. For cultivators, they could be discovered at any time from thousands of miles away. It would be very difficult to hide. Everyone, don't panic. Follow me to the bottom of the sea. I will set up a concealment array. It should be able to last for a while. After Night Sorrow transmitted his voice to everyone, he took the lead and flew to the bottom of the sea. After reaching the bottom, he set up a concealment array. This kind of concealment array was not enough for ordinary heavenly sovereigns to see through. If someone looked carefully, they would definitely be exposed. But at this time, the sea dragon and the other creatures of the Sea of Evil should be focused on the sea dragon. He felt that it would not be so easy to be discovered. This array can't even hide from my detection. Is it safe? Because the concealment array was not perfect, Dancing Lady immediately questioned. The array's quality is limited, but we have no other choice now. Everyone, hide your aura and wait here in peace. It's best if we are not discovered. If we are discovered, we will be killed immediately. Our infiltration into the Sea of Evil must not be exposed. Otherwise, it will affect the overall situation. For now, this is the only way. Dancing Lady had no other choice. She could only hide her aura and hide in the array with Night Sorrow and the others. However, she was different from the others. Her eyes were very special. Without releasing the power of her divine soul, she could still detect the surroundings. Together with Night Sorrow, she alerted everyone. In the next hour, everyone waited quietly in the array. Loud rumbling sounds came from outside. Obviously, there was a battle. Why are the people outside fighting? Aren't they all from the Sea of Evil? Yen Tianlai, who could not see outside, asked curiously. The cultivators outside are besieging the sea dragon. At this point in the battle, the sea dragon has been killed, and even its flesh and blood have been absorbed. The competition in the Sea of Evil is far more intense than we imagined. The aura of the Sea of Evil really drives people crazy. They even want to kill their own kind. Hearing Night Sorrow's description, Yen Tianlai frowned. Dancing Lady smiled disdainfully and said, "Isn't it the same in the foggy area? Plundering resources is the purest law of survival." That is indeed the case. Where there are cultivators, there will be fighting. After Night Sorrow finished speaking, he waited for about 2 hours and said, "The storm outside has already passed, let's go out and continue." He was lucky that he wasn't discovered this time. We'll have to be more careful next time. Don't worry. The matter before their eyes was already a wake-up call for everyone. No one will continue to be careless. After she finished speaking, she continued to lead the way. Night Sorrow chose to bring up the rear. Under the guidance of the two of them, the team kept getting closer to the center of the Sea of Evil. After traveling for about a day, Night Sorrow suddenly said, "Everyone wait." The corals in this area were very dense. It was the perfect place to set up a teleportation formation. I'll go make some arrangements. Good. We will protect you. Whirling Woman, who was constantly observing the surroundings, responded immediately. Wu Hua and Yen Tianlai also looked over. As for Su Lei, he was a little cold and arrogant. He didn't talk much with the others. This is the first time I've seen pure black corals. The corals in the Sea of Evil were dozens of times taller than the corals in the ordinary sea. After entering, Night Sorrow felt as if he had walked into a huge maze. After observing the surroundings, he couldn't help but sigh. The corals in front of him were too magnificent, but because they were black, they looked a little strange. Night Sorrow, I feel that this place is a little strange. But I can't tell what's going on. Just as Night Sorrow was choosing a location to set up the 5-bull formation and the teleportation formation, the male hammer of the restriction breaking hammer suddenly reminded him. Is it a little strange? Let me take a closer look. The reminders from the restriction breaking hammer and the various parts of the Eternal Divine Tower were not groundless. After Night Sorrow responded, he used the sea serpent's eye and the power of his godly soul to investigate the surroundings. After doing so, he suddenly felt his scalp tingle. It turned out that in every coral, there was a kind of disgusting black leech. These leeches were basically at the level of a lower heavenly supreme, and their numbers were terrifying. If not 10 million, there were at least 8 million. We can't set up a formation here. Let's leave immediately. After discovering these black leeches, Night Sorrow immediately sent a voice transmission to everyone, asking them to leave together. You came to our territory and still want to escape? Let me tell you, all the cultivators who dare to approach here have become blood food. Just as Night Sorrow and the others were about to quickly leave the coral, a cold voice suddenly sounded from the coral. Following that, the cold voice sounded. The black leeches hidden in the coral swarmed out in tens of thousands. Why are there leeches in the sea? And there are so many of them. Seeing millions of leeches appear, Wu Hua roared with a headache. Swaying Lady said worriedly, with such a big formation, we will definitely be exposed. To them, fighting was not the most terrifying thing. Alarming the sea dragon was the most terrifying thing. Su Lei, who had not spoken much, said coldly, we won't be exposed. The voice just now has already said it clearly. Cultivators who dare to approach here will basically become blood food. Therefore, under normal circumstances, no cultivators will approach. If we can kill the leech army in front of us, we can be considered to have a base. Yes, that should be the case. Let's attack together and get rid of these leeches. Their individual strength is not strong, but they have the advantage in numbers. We can't be careless. Night Sorrow agreed and took out the golden heavenly halberd that had been dyed black. He directly attacked the leech army with Raging Flames Demon, wanting to use the flames to burn these leeches to death. As for the seawater of the Sea of Evil, it was unable to extinguish the flames. Hee, you want to destroy my leech army with such flames? What a joke! At this moment, the cold voice sounded again. Along with his laughter, everyone immediately felt a strong sense of oppression. At this moment, Su Lei judged, the owner of this voice is at least a middle heavenly supreme, and his strength is not weak. Not only do we have to deal with the leeches, but we also have to be wary of his sneak attacks. She could not determine where the owner of this voice was hiding. Therefore, she reminded them. At this moment, Night Sorrow suddenly said, you guys deal with the leeches together. I will fight the owner of this voice. There shouldn't be any sea dragon nearby that likes to come close. Everyone can use your secret techniques to your heart's content. When the voice spoke again, he immediately found its location. Chapter 3198. As long as you restrain them, it shouldn't be too difficult for us to deal with the leeches. Whirling Lady roared at Night Sorrow. Then she immediately used the 1,000 illusion eyes. She summoned all the small eyes in the vertical eye and placed them in the sea. These eyeballs were similar to black holes, but in the pitch-black sea, they still had a sense of existence. When they were summoned, these black holes released rays of light. They blasted towards the incoming leech army. Good move! Su Lei, who was at the side, saw Whirling Lady use the 1,000 illusion eyes and praised. Then, it let out a clear and melodious cry. Then, it spat out a large amount of Yujia flames, illuminating the area they were in. This kind of momentum was extremely exaggerated in the Sea of Evil. However, none of the sea dragons that discovered the battle here came close. Obviously, the Leech Army and its master had caused a lot of trouble for the sea dragons in the past. They usually avoided this area when they were active. We can't just let the women fight. Let's go too. Whirling Lady and Su Lei attacked the Leech Army one after another. Yuan Tianlai roared and released his divine domain, rushing towards the leeches. After he attacked, Wu Hua also used his methods to attack. While the four of them were fighting with the Leech Army, Night Sorrow had already dug out the Leech's master. After this person appeared, Night Sorrow discovered that the other party was indeed a middle heavenly supreme cultivator. At this moment, this person had transformed into a male cultivator. His face was sinister and gave off an evil and awe-inspiring feeling. Night Sorrow opened the sea dragon's eye and observed, but he couldn't see through his true form. He wasn't sure what this person's true form was, but he guessed that it was definitely some kind of evil creature. But, do you want to know who I am? Seeing Night Sorrow sizing him up, the Leech's master revealed a sinister smile. The divine domain on his body also bloomed. I'm a little curious. How can you control the Sea of Evil alone and not be punished by the Sea Dragon King? Could it be that you are his subordinate? Night Sorrow could sense that the group didn't feel much pressure dealing with the Leech Army. Therefore, he wasn't in a hurry to attack and started to talk with the other party. He was sure that no sea dragon dared to approach, and it was definitely because of this cultivator in front of him. If there were no accidents, the other party would definitely hunt sea dragons on a daily basis. He didn't understand why the Sea Dragon King didn't kill an existence that was hunting sea dragons in the Sea of Evil. Hearing Night Sorrow's words, the Leech Master sneered. The sea dragons of the Evil Sea also want to know the answer to your question. But none of them could get the answer without dying. The few of you will be like the sea dragon that was killed. The moment before you are killed, you will get the answer to your question. At this point, the Leech Master, who had transformed into a male cultivator, suddenly struck out a palm towards Night Sorrow. His attack was different from that of an ordinary cultivator. His arm extended infinitely, reaching straight for Night Sorrow's head and slamming down. This action seemed complicated, but his speed was extremely fast. By the time Night Sorrow reacted, his opponent's palm was already on top of his head. So fast. Not only was Night Sorrow surprised by this attack, but Little Seven, who was in the Space Grotto Heaven, was also in disbelief. This was because the opponent's attack was actually faster than the light of an ordinary Sky Sovereign. It is indeed very fast. If it was me in the past, I wouldn't be able to dodge it at all. At this moment, Night Sorrow was responding to Little Seven as he suddenly executed the first step of the 9 defiant steps. He successfully dodged this attack. The Leech Master's attack directly hit the bottom of the sea. Boom! This palm was extremely powerful, and when it hit the bottom of the sea, it immediately caused the surrounding 10,000 miles to tremble. Your movement technique is unexpectedly good. The Leech Master was in disbelief that Night Sorrow had dodged his attack. Then he threatened coldly, I will give you a chance. If you teach me your complete movement technique, I will spare your life. I can spare your lives and treat it as if nothing happened today. Even if I teach it to you, you won't be able to learn it. Night Sorrow looked at him coldly. Yan's movement technique was the precious treasure of the eternal supreme world. Naturally, he couldn't teach it to an evil creature. Is that so? Then I'll devour you and take everything you have for myself. The Leech Master saw Night Sorrow's attitude of rejection and launched another fierce attack. This time, he threw a punch at Night Sorrow. When the fist was close, Night Sorrow executed the first move of the 9 defiant steps again and successfully dodged it. However, just as Night Sorrow dodged, he saw a huge mouth suddenly open where the opponent's fist was. In this round mouth, there were almost 1,000 sharp teeth. The key was, after it opened its mouth, thousands of sharp teeth shot out. Every tooth turned into a sharp sword at this moment. After shooting out these teeth, the leech master sneered, "Let's see how you dodge this time. Looks like I need to execute all the moves of the 9 defiant steps to dodge it. The few of them are still in good condition. I just need to restrain the opponent in front of me." At this moment, Knight Sorrow observed that the other 4 people had an obvious advantage in the battle against the leech army. He immediately decided to continue the battle with the leech master in front of him. After thinking for a while, he directly executed the pure 9 defiant steps. Under the attack of thousands of sharp teeth, he was like a butterfly flitting through flowers, constantly dodging. You can even dodge such an attack. This movement technique is simply heaven-defying. I must learn it. Seeing that Knight Sorrow could dodge the thousands of sharp teeth attacks so easily, the leech master immediately became excited. In his life, he had never seen such a mysterious movement technique. His desire to take it for himself was even stronger. "You want to learn it? You'd better defeat me first." In the moment when the leech master was distracted, Knight Sorrow immediately executed the supreme dragon-subduing technique. This dragon-subduing technique could unleash almost 3 times the effect when fighting dragons. But it could also be used in normal battles. Knight Sorrow felt that against the opponent in front of him, his Qingxian godly spear technique should not be of much use. This time, when he executed the supreme dragon-subduing technique, Knight Sorrow was a little surprised. Because the last time he executed it, a huge Kuan Peng appeared. After the Kuan Peng appeared, it directly subdued his opponent. And this time, when he executed it again, a huge Kuan Peng appeared. This Kuan Peng looked a little like a whale, but it was much bigger. After it appeared, it immediately opened its mouth and tried to swallow the leech master. What kind of move is this? You ant, you have a lot of tricks up your sleeves. But all these are futile. Seeing the huge Kuan Peng opening its mouth and trying to swallow him, the leech master roared and immediately transformed into his original form. Chapter 3199. So you are also a sea dragon. However, you are a little different from other sea dragons. You are an anomaly. After the leech master transformed into his true form, Knight Sorrow discovered that he was a sea dragon. However, he looked a little deformed and looked like the product of a sea dragon and a leech. Although there was a dragon head, the lower half of his body looked like a leech. You are the anomaly. Hearing Knight Sorrow's words, the deformed sea dragon immediately flew into a rage. He wanted to destroy the Kuan that Knight Sorrow had summoned with a swing of his tail. However, he did not expect that the Kuan that had opened its mouth would actually bite off his tail. After his tail was bitten off, he immediately let out a loud roar. He was completely enraged. At the same time, the leeches that were fighting against Hasa Lady and the others all turned into blood in an instant. The blood that they had turned into quickly gathered towards the deformed sea dragon. After absorbing the blood, the deformed sea dragon's tail quickly recovered. At this moment, he looked at Knight Sorrow and said coldly, "Didn't you want to know why the Sea Dragon King didn't kill me? Let me tell you, I am also the son of the Sea Dragon King. My name is Ao Shui. All of you die." After Ao Shui roared, he immediately spat out a dark dragon breath at Knight Sorrow. Awoo! At this moment, the Kuan that Knight Sorrow had summoned moved again and swallowed the dragon breath. Moreover, it swallowed Ao Shui again. However, this Kuan had already started to blur and could not hold on for long. Without this Kuan, you are nothing. Ao Shui, who was completely enraged, roared and began to fight with this Kuan. At this moment, Knight Sorrow looked at the others and transmitted his voice. "Everyone, attack together and kill Ao Shui. If I'm not wrong, he must be a prince that the Sea Dragon King despises. No matter how big the commotion is, he will not ask the Sea Dragon King for help." That's right. The Sea Dragon King will definitely despise him, a prince that was born from a leech. After Hasa Lady finished speaking, she used all evil descends on Ao Shui. Su Lei transformed into Yujia and joined the battle. Their strength was basically not inferior to Knight Sorrow's, and their battle prowess was extremely strong. As for the relatively weaker ape Tianlai and No Flower, they were responsible for sneak attacks. While Night Sorrow and the others were keeping Ao Shui in check, they began to take advantage of the situation and launched continuous attacks. Although Ao Shui was a middle heavenly sovereign and was relatively strong, he was restrained by Kuan and besieged. Soon, he was forced into a passive position. While being besieged, he did not choose to call for help. Instead, he continued to burn his bloodline to increase his combat strength. Towards the end of the battle, he forcefully destroyed the Kuan summoned by Night Sorrow. However, he was also heavily injured by Night Sorrow and the others. At this time, after being struck by the dancing woman's evil descent, he began to feel more and more miserable. But even under such circumstances, he did not seek help from the Sea Dragon King. Obviously, it wasn't just the Sea Dragon King who hated him. He didn't like the Sea Dragon King's father either. "I'll kill him." After fighting for about an hour, Su Lei, who had transformed into Yujia, saw that the time was ripe. He roared and was ready to kill Ao Shui directly. At this time, Night Sorrow hurriedly sent a message: "Destroy his soul and keep his body. It's very useful." "Is that so?" After replying to Night Sorrow, Su Lei stopped and only destroyed Ao Shui's soul. After Ao Shui's soul was destroyed, Night Sorrow said, "We are too conspicuous in the sea of evil. I'm going to refine Ao Shui's body into a puppet and bring you all to the sea of evil." This is indeed a good idea. No matter what, Ao Shui is the son of the Sea Dragon King. Ordinary people will definitely not dare to provoke him. Hearing Night Sorrow's words, the dancing woman immediately agreed. The others also felt that this was a good idea. After that, Night Sorrow took out the Nine-Dragon Cauldron and threw Ao Shui's body into it. He used the most primitive method to refine a puppet. After this puppet was refined, it was similar to a divine artifact. Yi Sheng used a sliver of his god soul to successfully control it. Then, he controlled it to transform into a human form and put himself and the others into the space. After confirming that this was feasible, Night Sorrow immediately set up the 5-bull formation and the teleportation formation on Ao Shui's body. After all this was done, he began to use Ao Shui's body to walk around the Sea of Evil. He set up the 5-bull formation and the teleportation formation. This Ao Shui was a well-known figure in the Sea of Evil. Almost no one dared to provoke him. Therefore, their operation was very smooth. Once, Night Sorrow bumped into the 9th Prince Ao Lai, who he had defeated before. Originally, he thought that Ao Lai would discover something. Unexpectedly, after Ao Lai saw the puppet Ao Shui, he immediately fled with his subordinates. Obviously, he was also afraid of Ao Shui. After refining Ao Shui into a puppet, we will be able to enter the Sea of Evil as if there is no one there. After setting up several 5-bull formations and the teleportation formation, the dancing woman said in a good mood. Even she was a little afraid of the absolute emperor of the Sea of Evil, the Sea Dragon King. After having Ao Shui as a puppet, everything became simple. She also felt a lot more relaxed. The others also felt the same. They felt that their luck was not bad. Because using Ao Shui's body to walk around, they found that there were countless heavenly supreme sea dragons hiding around the Sea Dragon Imperial City. If they did not have Ao Shui as a shield, they would have been attacked by the group. "Everyone, we have completed the task of setting up the teleportation formation, but I am going to draw a map of the Sea of Evil. I will take up a little more of your time." About a year later, Night Sorrow successfully set up 18 teleportation formations. He felt that it was about time. So, he led the group to continue to walk around the Sea of Evil and draw a map of the Sea of Evil. This map, except for the Sea Dragon Imperial City and the 2 bottomless trenches, had mapped out everything in the Sea of Evil. It was very strategic. After receiving the map, Heaven Defying exclaimed in admiration, "This map is well drawn. It is very valuable. The few of you have done well." After saying that, he took out some resources and distributed them to everyone one by one. These resources were nothing to the dancing woman and Su Lei. They were more relaxed. But to Yuan Tianlai and No Flower, who did not have any background, it was definitely good stuff. They were more excited. After Tian and I distributed the resources, Night Sorrow asked, Senior Tian and I, how is your learning of the Supreme Dragon subduing skill? Have you completely comprehended it? Sigh, to tell you the truth, my talent is not very good. There are a few things that I can't figure out. Hearing this, Tian and I said helplessly. He was born from the heaven-defying sword and his comprehension was not very good. In the 2 years that Night Sorrow had left, he had not completely mastered the Supreme Dragon subduing skill. Chapter 3200. It's fine. Since Senior Heaven-Defying has not mastered it, I will help Senior learn the Supreme Dragon subduing technique in the future. This move will erupt with unexpected power when dealing with dragons. I must learn it. Night Sorrow transmitted his voice. Now that he had obtained the puppet sea dragon Ao Shui, the chances of obtaining the 8th level of the Eternal Divine Tower had greatly increased. What he needed to consider was how to escape. If Heaven-Defying could learn the Supreme Dragon subduing technique, he should be able to restrain the Sea Dragon King. To him, it was very beneficial. Hearing this, Heaven-Defying sighed and said, It's good to have your guidance. But as a senior, I still need a junior to guide me. It's a little embarrassing. Senior. There were different levels of knowledge and specialization in different fields. I learned the Supreme Dragon subduing technique before you. There's nothing embarrassing about you learning from me. Night Sorrow replied with a smile. He felt that this was not a big deal. Alright. Heaven-Defying replied to Night Sorrow and looked at the others. All of you, disperse and do your own things. Wait for the summons. Alright. Everyone, including Whirling Woman, immediately chose to disperse. Among them, Yuan Tianlai and Wu Hua used the remaining years to cultivate. After they left, Night Sorrow entered Heaven-Defying's secret room and guided him in his cultivation. After a period of guidance, Night Sorrow discovered that Heaven-Defying's problem was that he was too sharp and did not know how to be flexible. This should be a major drawback of sword-type gods. Therefore, in the process of guiding Heaven-Defying to learn the Supreme Dragon subduing technique, Night Sorrow also constantly helped him perfect his fighting style. About 5 years later, Heaven-Defying successfully learned the Supreme Dragon subduing technique and had greatly improved in terms of fighting. Before coming out of seclusion, Heaven-Defying looked at Night Sorrow and said, Night Sorrow, after learning your Supreme Dragon subduing technique and fighting techniques, my chances of winning in the Sea of Evil will at least increase by 30%. Thank you. Senior Heaven-Defying, you're welcome. After all, our goals are similar. Night Sorrow said politely. He was determined to obtain the 8th level of the Eternal Divine Tower. As for Heaven-Defying's goal, it was the Sea-Calming Divine Iron. Hearing this, Heaven-Defying smiled and said, Our goals are very different. When I attack the Sea Divine Iron, all the sea dragons in the Sea of Evil will be attracted to me. At that time, it will be very easy for you. When the time comes, if there is anything that I can help you with, Senior, Yi Shang would definitely do his best. After all, your advancement is a great thing for the Eternal Paragon world. Before leaving the secret room, Heaven-Defying, 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 Heaven-Defying Dragon. I hope that this time, I can at least recover to half a step into the limitless realm. Tian and I sighed and then said, 2 years later, we will set off on time. Go and prepare. Good. After Yi Shang finished speaking, he went to find Dancing Woman, Su Lei, and the others. After gathering everyone, he said, Everyone, our most important goal in the Sea of Evil is the Eternal Devil Tower. Once we're done, I'll give all of the Killer Heaven Academy's points to everyone. Of course, if anyone wishes to withdraw, you can do so now. I've decided to go with you. Hearing this, Heaven-Defying Dragon was satisfied. To them, the Heaven-Defying Dragon's points were very important. None of them did not care. I have no objections. Su Lei also spoke, but she wasn't sure if Yi Shang's words included her. She was very conflicted. On one hand, she had sworn loyalty to the organization. On the other hand, she had lost to Night Sorrow in a bet. She was very confused. After all, She used to be the empress of a region. As for Wu Hua, he listened to heaven-defying dragon. Since she had decided to go, he had no reason to refuse. Yuan Tianlai was Night Sorrow's man, so he did not refuse either. But since everyone has decided to go, let's practice the formation, Yi Shang immediately said when he saw that everyone had agreed. Formation? What formation? Heaven-defying dragon asked. The others also looked at Night Sorrow in confusion. Combined attack technique and formation array. In a battle, it would bring about unexpected results. When Brother Yun Yi and Brother Xian Yan arrive, we will begin. After Night Sorrow finished speaking, he and the others waited for Yun Yi and Xian Yan. Not long after, the two of them arrived. Night Sorrow began to teach them the combined attack technique. After everyone had mastered the combined attack technique, he began to teach them the combined attack formation. Although there were only 7 of them, he was able to fight 1 against 3, so he was basically able to use a joint attack formation. After learning the combined attack formation, Yun Yi immediately exclaimed, "This combined attack formation is unheard of, but the effect is surprisingly good. It is indeed very powerful. The 7 of us, together with the Night Devil's puppet, can use the combined attack formation. I think we can compete with upper heavenly sovereigns. In the Sea of Evil, unless the Sea Dragon King attacks, we should not be threatened." Heaven-defying dragon agreed. She found Yi Shan's joint attack array somewhat inconceivable. As a native of the foggy area, she had never seen such a formation. Since everyone thinks the combined attack formation is good, let's practice it while we still have time. After all, practice makes perfect. After Night Sorrow finished speaking, he led everyone to practice for more than a year. When Tian and I summoned them and was ready to set off, their cooperation was already very good. After Tian and I gathered a few hundred people, he sent a message to the Sea Dragon King, asking him to send someone to pick up the Sea Dragon City's team. This was considered a respect to the Sea of Evil. While waiting for the messenger, Tian and I sent a voice transmission to Night Sorrow. "After we reach the Sea of Evil, we will stay for some time. A few days ago, we will spar as usual. Usually we will investigate the target. Wait for me to attract their attention, then you can make your move." "But understood," Night Sorrow replied. After that, Tian and I told Night Sorrow something, and they followed the Sea Dragon King's messenger to the Sea of Evil. They flew above the Sea of Evil, and when they reached the Sea Dragon Imperial City, they entered the water together. When they entered the Sea Dragon Imperial City, the Sea Dragon King was already waiting with his group of princes and princesses. The Sea Dragon King, who was surrounded in the middle, looked similar to an emperor. While Tian and I City Lord and Sea Dragon Emperor were exchanging greetings, Ninth Prince Ao Lai's resentful gaze quickly locked onto Night Sorrow. He sent a voice transmission coldly, "I didn't expect you to come. There will definitely be a battle between us. How can a loser be brave?" Night Sorrow opened the Sea Dragon Eye and looked at Ninth Prince Ao Lai. At this time, Ao Lai's aura was much stronger, and it was obvious that his strength had increased. Hearing Night Sorrow's words, he was instantly enraged. Then he interrupted the conversation between Sea Dragon King and Tian Ni City Lord, pointed at Night Sorrow and said, "Father, I want to challenge that person." Chapter 3201. Impudent. "I'm welcoming guests, how can you interrupt? Drag him down and behead him." Sea Dragon King, who was interrupted, immediately flew into a rage. At this moment, Tian and I smiled and said, "Dragon King, why bother with the juniors? If they want to challenge, we'll arrange it." After that, he tried to persuade the Sea Dragon King. In addition, the few princesses at the side also tried to persuade him. Sea Dragon King's gloomy face eased a little. He looked at Ao Lai and said, "This time, everyone will plead for you. I'll spare your life. If you don't know the rules next time, you'll be beheaded." "Father, I know my mistake." Ao Lai knelt on the ground and kowtowed 3 times in a row. Then he said, "Father, please allow me to issue a challenge." After Ao Lai finished speaking, Sea Dragon King looked at Tian and I and said, "City Lord, what do you think?" Since sparring is something that happens every time, it's good to come early. It can liven up the atmosphere. After Sea Dragon King said this, Tion and I immediately reacted. This was Sea Dragon King and the others singing a double act. They wanted the challenge to come directly. They didn't even want to lead everyone to tour Sea Dragon Imperial City and invite them to a banquet. However, he didn't refuse. Instead, he agreed. Good. City Lord is indeed a forthright person. Compared to the trade fair after the sparring, you will also take out something that is sincere enough. After Sea Dragon King finished speaking, he looked at Ao Lai and said, "Which one do you want to challenge?" Point it out. When he said this, Sea Dragon King's aura immediately bloomed. It gave people an incomparably powerful feeling. Night Sorrow felt that he should have reached the peak of Upper Heavenly Sovereign and could enter the half-step extreme realm at any time. This kind of strength was stronger than Tion and I. "Father, the one I want to challenge is him." After getting permission, Ao Lai immediately pointed at Night Sorrow and said, Sea Dragon King saw that Night Sorrow's cultivation was only Middle Earthly Sovereign. He frowned and said, "Oh Lai, you've been arguing for so long just to challenge an earthly sovereign?" "Father, although he is an earthly sovereign, his actual combat strength is definitely at the heavenly sovereign level. Last time I was defeated by him. This time I want to take revenge." Ao Lai immediately explained when he saw the Sea Dragon King's expression darken. Hearing this, the Sea Dragon King's expression recovered slightly. He snorted, "I'll give you a chance to challenge me. But if you lose to an Earth Sovereign, you will no longer be part of the Sea Dragon Imperial family. Understand?" "Yes, I understand." After being reprimanded by the Sea Dragon King, Ao Lai stood up and pointed at Night Sorrow. "If you have the guts, come out and fight. In this battle, we will determine victory and defeat, as well as life and death." "I've already said that you're a loser, and you have no chance of winning. Why must you seek your own death?" Yishang naturally didn't feel the slightest bit of fear as he looked at Ao Lai. Even though Ao Lai's strength had increased significantly, he had already learned the Supreme Dragon subduing art. He would definitely be able to defeat him easily. However, at this moment, the heaven-defying beast transmitted a message. "In battle, unless it is absolutely necessary, do not use the Supreme Dragon subduing technique. This is to prevent the Sea Dragon King from becoming vigilant." Alright. With the heaven-defying beast's words, Night Sorrow felt that it made sense. He decided to give up on using the Supreme Dragon subduing technique. After speaking, he walked out of the crowd step by step. "Don't worry, let's go to the battle arena." Seeing that Ao Lai and Night Sorrow were about to attack, the Sea Dragon King immediately spoke. Then, everyone headed to the battle arena. This battle arena was built for both sides to spar, and there were tens of thousands of spectator seats. At this moment, the spectator seats were already filled with shrimp soldiers and crab generals. This was exactly the same as before. "You guys go up. There are no rules. If one side dies, the battle will end." Sweeping a glance at the packed spectator seats, the Sea Dragon King, who had just finished arranging the heaven-defying beast and the rest, spoke coldly. "Yes, father." When Ao Lai heard this, he immediately flew up to the battle arena. Standing in the empty arena, he shouted at Night Sorrow, "Come up and accept your death. I'm here to take your life, loser." Night Sorrow had an obvious psychological advantage against Ao Lai. He knew that his simple words could infuriate the other party. Just as Yi Shang had expected, Ao Lai was immediately enraged. He roared, "Get over it! Roaming dragon!" At the same time, he transformed into a sea dragon and attacked Night Sorrow. Roaming dragon? The name is not bad, but it's just a movement technique? Night Sorrow, who was observing Ao Lai with the sea dragon's eye, discovered that roaming dragon was a movement technique and was surprised. At this moment, the heaven-defying beast sent a voice transmission. This is the movement technique that the Sea Dragon King is famous for. It's not simple. This Ao Lai must have put in a lot of effort. Be careful. Don't worry, I'm fine. Hearing this, Night Sorrow replied with a smile. Then, he used the heaven-defying 9 steps to dodge Ao Lai's attack. The the Sea Dragon King's roaming dragon was very mysterious. When Aolai used it, his movements were erratic and difficult to capture. However, Night Sorrow could use the Sea Dragon's eye to see through it and use the heaven-defying 9 steps to break it. After fighting for more than 10 breaths, Aolai did not touch Night Sorrow at all. Night Sorrow used the golden heavenly halberd to strike Aolai several times. This made Aolai, who wanted to save face, angrier and angrier the more he fought. He burned his bloodline and raised his strength to the strongest. He roared, "This time, you will die without a doubt." Then, in the void, he used another of the Sea Dragon King's famous ultimate moves. Dragon Roar of the 9 Heavens. This Dragon Roar of the 9 Heavens was an ultimate move that attacked the soul. When Aolai executed it, it immediately caused the entire martial arts arena to tremble. Using your blood essence to execute this move, you want to kill me instantly? When Aolai used this move, Night Sorrow immediately understood his intentions. He understood that Aolai wanted to determine the outcome in one move. He was surprised. He felt that Aolai was a little rash. At this moment, the heaven-defying beast reminded, "Hit the energy resistance, otherwise, you might be destroyed by this move." Is it that terrifying? Hearing the heaven-defying beast's voice transmission, Night Sorrow was more or less alert. He set up a divine essence trapping array and other defensive methods around him. He also activated the 33 Heavens Battle Mystic technique, activated the Green Phoenix battle armor, and burned his bloodline. He used the Dragon Roar and Phoenix Cry to resist this move. After Night Sorrow roared, the sound waves of the two roars collided violently. Buzz. In the martial arts arena, a loud noise suddenly erupted. After the collision, Night Sorrow and Aolai floated in the air. Neither of them fell. At this moment, Night Sorrow saw Aolai, whose aura was already very weak, take out a pill and consume it. After that, his aura instantly recovered. In a few breaths of time, he recovered to his peak state. He immediately realized that Aolai was using a powerful move to exhaust him. Then he despicably used pills to recover. Chapter 3202. Be careful. What Aolai swallowed is a sea spirit pill refined from a sea spirit root. It's a spirit medicine unique to the Sea of Evil Imperial family and can quickly recover vitality. It's best if you can insta-kill him in one strike. Seeing Aolai consume the sea spirit pill, Yunyi immediately sent a voice transmission to Night Sorrow to remind him. "I have an ultimate technique to insta-kill him, but it's not convenient to use it. That will make the Sea Dragon King vigilant and be disadvantageous to the city lord." Yisheng replied to Yunyi and then started fighting with Aolai again. This time, the move Aolai used was exactly the same as before. It was still Roaming Dragon and Roaring Dragon. Seeing Aolai use the exact same move, Night Sorrow immediately felt that it was somewhat funny. Facing these two moves, he still used the same move to respond and easily blocked the other party's attack. Although it consumed some energy, it wasn't much. However, at this time, Night Sorrow discovered that a trace of a sly smile appeared on Aolai's face. What's going on? Is he plotting something? Night Sorrow, who still chose to bide his time, secretly guessed in his heart. At this time, Yunyi reminded again, "I feel that this Aolai is definitely plotting something. Be careful. I can see a little, but I can't guess. His kind of attack can consume my divine essence energy. But this kind of consumption speed, I can completely withstand it." Night Sorrow replied to Yunyi, "Since you can't guess, then take the initiative to attack and don't give him any chance." Yunyi reminded worriedly. He felt that at this time, Night Sorrow was following Aolai's rhythm. This was somewhat dangerous. "Don't worry, I'll be fine. He doesn't have the ability to insta-kill me." Night Sorrow replied and looked at Aolai again. This time, he was prepared to find an opportunity to counterattack after Aolai attacked. He knew that he definitely couldn't just let go. "Are you very curious why I'm continuously using the same move to deal with you? Because to deal with you, using these two moves is enough." At this time, Aolai swallowed a few more pills. This time, not only did his aura completely recover, but it also grew wildly. Feeling the swelling strength, Ao Lai's face revealed a bloodthirsty smile. So you still have pills that can raise your aura. No wonder he looks so confident. As Ao Lai's strength continued to rise, Night Sorrow immediately felt a trace of pressure. At this moment, he started to think about how he could kill Ao Lai if he didn't execute the Supreme Dragon subduing technique. After thinking about it, Night Sorrow felt that his greatest advantage at the moment was the 9 heaven-defying steps. Immediately, he started to think about how to use the 9 steps of the heaven-defying technique to enhance his offensive unique skill. While Night Sorrow and Ao Lai were fighting, Sea Dragon King, who was sitting at the top of the viewing platform, looked at Heaven Defying beside him and asked, "City Lord, who do you think will win the next battle? I was the one who brought Night Devil here, so I naturally think that he will win." Tion and I looked at Sea Dragon King and said, he was still very confident in Night Sorrow. If he really couldn't do it, he could just let Night Sorrow use the Supreme Dragon subduing technique. Hearing this, the Sea Dragon King smiled and said, "I think Ao Lai will win. Since we don't agree, why don't we make a bet?" "What do you want to bet?" Tion and I looked at Sea Dragon King and asked. He was still very confident in this bet. Sea Dragon King, who was also confident, pointed at Su Lei and said, "Bet on the beauty, what do you think? If I win, how about you give that female practitioner to me?" Hearing Sea Dragon King's words, Su Lei was a little angry. But the other party was too strong. She didn't have the ability to resist, so she didn't dare to say anything. It's not impossible to have Su Lei. If you lose, you have to give all 3 of your daughters to me. Do you dare to bet? Tion and I, who knew that Su Lei was wronged, said with a fake smile. He directly asked for Sea Dragon King's 3 princesses, and with this, the smell of gunpowder rose. "Lord City Lord, well said." Hearing Tion and I say this, Su Lei immediately transmitted her voice to vent her anger. She was very unhappy with the extremely lecherous Sea Dragon King. Hearing Tion and I mention Sea Dragon King, he was so angry that his dragon horns were almost crooked. He calmed down for a while before saying, "All right, I, Sea Dragon King, will accept your bet." Then he transmitted his voice to Ao Lai, "Use all the things I taught you and quickly kill him." "Yes, father. Your son will definitely kill him. I won't embarrass father and my sisters." Ao Lai heard Sea Dragon King's transmission and immediately promised solemnly. At this time, he had already used Roaming Dragon and Roaring Dragon 3 times. Feeling that Night Sorrow was almost exhausted, he immediately took out the trident that Sea Dragon King gave him from his spatial artifact. "Be careful, this is Sea Dragon King's divine weapon when he was young, Sea Emperor's trident. It's the top existence among Sky Supreme level divine weapons. Also, we can't lose this bet. If it really doesn't work, use the Supreme Dragon subduing technique. Even if we're exposed, we can't lose Su Lei." Seeing Ao Lai take out Sea Emperor's trident, Tion and I immediately reminded him. "Don't worry, no matter what, I will win this battle." Night Sorrow, who was floating in the air, held the golden heavenly halberd and transmitted his voice to Tion and I. He continued to transmit his voice to Su Lei and comforted him, "This matter started because of me. I won't push you into the fire pit. I believe in you." Su Lei replied, and then transmitted his voice to Night Sorrow, telling him a chant. "This is the Yujia family's forbidden flame attack, Nirvana Heart Fire. When used, it can burn the opponent's soul. You have the Phoenix bloodline, so you should be able to use it." "Thank you." A thought flashed through Night Sorrow's mind, and he comprehended the secret art that Su Lei had taught him. He thought to himself, "This Nirvana Heart Fire is indeed not simple. If used successfully, Ao Lai's soul will definitely be burned. However, the time needed to condense it is too long. It can only be brewed in about 10 breaths. That's right. I can wait until he swallows a pill to use it." Su Lei should have the same intention. "What? Seeing this prince's trident, you're so scared that you're stunned. Are you ready to surrender?" Seeing that Night Sorrow was a little distracted, Ao Lai, who was holding Sea Emperor's trident, mocked him coldly. I'm thinking about how to deal with your three sisters after winning. Facing Aolai's provocation, Night Sorrow replied with a fake smile. Bastard. My sisters are not people that a lowly ant like you can insult. Hearing Night Sorrow's words, Aolai was instantly enraged. He directly activated Sea Emperor's trident and slashed towards Night Sorrow. When Aolai used the trident, the spectators immediately exclaimed. This was because the trident was actually the attack left behind by the Sea Dragon King. This was completely shameless from start to finish. Chapter 3203. Sea Dragon King, you actually poured your own attack into the Sea Emperor's trident. This has already seriously affected the fairness of the battle, isn't it a little too much? Seeing that Aolai's trident was an attack from the Sea Dragon King, Tion and I immediately questioned in a bad mood. Sea Dragon King sneered and said, they are not sparring, but a battle of life and death without talking about the rules. Everything they do is reasonable. If you want to blame someone, blame this night demon for not being prepared enough. Sea Dragon King's words were extremely cold. Tion and I almost exploded, but when he thought about the sea-calming divine iron that he was after, he barely suppressed his anger. He sent a voice transmission to Night Sorrow. Directly use the Supreme Dragon Subduing Technique, there's no need to worry. I'm afraid the Supreme Dragon Subduing Technique won't be able to block this attack. But I have other methods that can block it. Night Sorrow replied to Tion and I and began to think about whether to use the Ancient Coffin or Yan's calligraphy. After thinking for a moment, he finally took out Yan's calligraphy. He blocked Aolai's attack. He thought to himself, if Senior Yan's calligraphy can't block it, I can only use the Ancient Coffin. Ha! He actually took out a small calligraphy to block my father's attack. That's simply wishful thinking. Seeing that Night Sorrow actually took out a calligraphy to block the Sea Dragon King's attack, Aolai couldn't help but laugh out loud, mocking Night Sorrow for overestimating himself. What do you know? Facing this attack, Night Sorrow was filled with anticipation. He knew that something left behind by an expert of the extreme realm was definitely not simple. This was where the dignity of a top expert lay. Boom. Then, under everyone's focused gazes, the Sea Dragon King's attack accurately struck Yan's calligraphy. After the collision, the Sea Dragon King's attack instantly turned into nothingness. The calligraphy was still intact, but the fluorescent light on it dimmed a little. Obviously, this calligraphy should not be able to withstand more than a few attacks of this level. Even so, everyone watching the battle was still surprised. They did not know what was going on with the calligraphy in Night Sorrow's hands. Why would such an attack erupt? Ha! Good. That's great. Seeing Night Sorrow block the Sea Dragon King's attack with the calligraphy, Yunyi waved his fist excitedly. He did not expect that the copybook he gave to Night Sorrow would have such an effect. He was pleasantly surprised. What an unexpected surprise. I didn't expect the copybook to be so useful. Xian Mian, who was beside him, also sighed. After all, he had also studied the copybook back then, but he had not been able to find anything. Tion and I, who was sitting at the top, looked at Sea Dragon King and said sarcastically, looks like Brother Dragon King is still gentlemanly and deliberately showed mercy. Otherwise, with Night Demon's ability, how could he block your attack? Hearing this, the Sea Dragon King glanced at the heaven-defying bead but didn't say anything. He sent a message to Aolai with an annoyed expression, you useless thing, hurry up and kill him. This Emperor's trident is not as simple as a single strike. As the person involved, Aolai was stunned. He never expected that the Sea Dragon King's attack would be blocked. His confidence took a huge hit. Hearing the Sea Dragon King's words, he suddenly woke up from his dream and said, yes, father. Then he waved the trident and fought with Night Sorrow. The attacks from the Sea King's trident were not as terrifying as the previous one, but they were all at the level of a middle heavenly sovereign. Night Sorrow found it difficult to block them. However, he persevered and did not use the copybook again. He knew that with Aolai's strength, it would not take long for him to use this level of attack. When Aolai was almost exhausted, his chance would come. You are indeed quite strong. You are not easy to deal with. However, with the help of the Sea Spirit Elixir and the Sea King's Trident, you will not have the chance to counterattack. When the divine origin energy in his body was almost exhausted, Aolai once again distanced himself from Night Sorrow. He floated in the void and swallowed the Sea Spirit Elixir. You swallowed the Sea Spirit Elixir a few times in a row and I did not attack. It was to make you lower your guard. You are really careless. At this moment, Night Sorrow laughed coldly and used the seal and fix formula. He temporarily sealed Aolai and then used the Nirvana Heart Fire that Su Lei had taught him. The timing is very good. You are in a battle of life and death. Do not show any mercy. Seeing Night Sorrow use the Nirvana Heart Fire that he had taught him, Su Lei shouted loudly. Night Sorrow had been suppressed and she was quite nervous. Now, she was finally relieved. Dancing Lady, who was sitting beside Su Lei, laughed when she saw her performance. At this moment, Night Sorrow replied, "Don't worry, I will not give him any chance to counterattack." As his voice fell, the Sea Dragon King's expression became very ugly. In comparison, it was even worse than Aolai, who had been hit by the Nirvana Heart Fire. However, very quickly, Aolai's face became completely distorted and looked more and more ferocious. Night Sorrow and Su Lei knew that this was the Nirvana Heart Fire burning Aolai's soul. Victory and defeat have been decided. Life and death have been decided. Facing the distorted Aolai, Night Sorrow did not hesitate at all. He used the golden heavenly halberd and used the divine spear. At this moment, Aolai did not have the ability to block such an attack. Without any resistance, his dantian was directly shattered by Night Sorrow. Seeing Night Sorrow shatter Aolai's dantian, the Sea Dragon King was so angry that he slapped his own thigh. He did not expect that his playmate's scheme would not be able to defeat an Earth Sovereign in front of him. As for the three daughters of the Sea Dragon King, each of them looked more terrified than the other. They knew that this time, Aolai had been completely defeated. They had been defeated. The three of them looked at each other, their faces full of bitterness. How could they have expected that they would lose the battle that they had been confident of winning? Just as they were surprised, Night Sorrow attacked again and killed Aolai. He also took away his Sea King's Trident and the remaining dozen Sea Spirit pills. After killing Aolai, Night Sorrow looked at Tian and I and said, "City Lord, the Night Demon did not disappoint you and successfully obtained victory. Good, very good. This is the reward you deserve." Tian and I took out an interspatial ring with a smile and threw it to Night Sorrow. Then he looked at the Sea Dragon King and said, "Dragon King, I will reward your 3 princesses to the Night Demon. Do you have any objections?" Hearing this, the Sea Dragon King was so angry that his body trembled. However, he still looked at his 3 daughters and gritted his teeth. "Go, Royal Father." After being reprimanded by the Sea Dragon King, the 3 princesses turned pale. They did not have any intention of taking a step forward. "All of you get lost. From today onwards, you are no longer part of the Sea Dragon royal family," the Sea Dragon King said angrily. Then, he no longer looked at the 3 princesses and turned to Tian and I. "Since it is a battle, there will definitely be more than one. Let's go have a meal first and continue the battle when we return. How about it?" Chapter 3204. I don't object to the duel. But there's no need to continue the duel, right? So as not to hurt the harmony between us. Tian and I had already determined that Sea Dragon King was angry from the death of one of his sons. Just like a gambler, he wanted to win back what he had lost. He did not wish for anyone on his side to die, so he said. Hearing this, Sea Dragon King said aggressively, "Since it's a duel, of course it has to be a life and death duel. Otherwise, what's the point?" At the same time, he looked at Tian and I with anger in his eyes. Obviously, he was hinting to Tian and I that if Tian and I did not agree to the duel, he would directly flip out. And this was Sea Dragon Imperial City after all. If he was angry, the people of Sea Dragon City would definitely be at a disadvantage. Seeing Sea Dragon King like this, Tian and I sneered. "Then how many duels do you think are suitable?" 10. Sea Dragon King said without hesitation. To him, If one person on his side died, he wanted to see 10 people on the other side die. Hearing this, Tian and I transmitted his voice to Night Sorrow. How many people can you send? Remember, they must be strong. I can send 5. If there are no rules, I can send 6. Night Sorrow replied without hesitation. What? 5 or 6? Are you sure? This is a life and death duel. The Sea Dragon clan will definitely send out all kinds of experts. Hearing Night Sorrow's words, Tian and I transmitted his voice doubtfully. Of course I'm sure. But I hope that during the duel, it will be like Tianji's horse race. Their people will go first, and our people will go later. Night Sorrow replied. If the rules allowed it, he was prepared to fight another duel. Also, he wanted Dancing Lady and Su Lei to fight, but he needed to help them pick out weaker opponents. 2 people dying in battle was something he could not accept, so he had to make sure that nothing went wrong. Alright, I'll talk to Sea Dragon King. Send out 6 from your side. As for the other candidates, I'll arrange it. After receiving Night Sorrow's confirmation, Tian and I immediately started talking with Sea Dragon King. After some discussion, Sea Dragon King finally agreed to Tian's condition, allowing their people to choose opponents like the Sea Dragons. After the 2 of them finished discussing the rules, the Sea Dragon King called out the remaining 8 sons and the other 2 talented lower heavenly sovereigns. Among the Sea Dragons, the first prince and the second prince were both middle heavenly sovereigns. None of the middle heavenly sovereigns on the heaven-defying beads side were a match for them. As for the other princes, although they were also very strong, they were not necessarily much stronger than the fully armed Aolai. Night Sorrow and the others still had a chance to win against them. Wu Meng, you're the first to fight. After all 10 of them stepped forward, the Sea Dragon King looked at the sea dragon named Wu Meng. Your Majesty. The sea dragon named Wu Meng bowed to the Sea Dragon King before flying onto the stage. He roared arrogantly, "Who dares to fight with me? Who do you think is suitable?" After Wu Meng went on stage, Heaven Defying immediately looked at Night Sorrow and said, Su Lei, which one of you will go? He and the other non-royal sea dragon shouldn't be a match for you. At this moment, Night Sorrow looked at Pasua and Su Lei. According to Night Sorrow's calculations, the 2 of them had to fight, and their opponents had to be Wu Meng and the other non-royal sea dragon. If they were to fight against a royal sea dragon, the 2 of them should not be his match. Hearing Night Sorrow's words, Pasua looked at Su Lei and said, The opponents first to fight will definitely be the weakest. You are slightly stronger than me. Can I fight this round? But Su Lei nodded and did not say much. Then, she looked at the other sea dragon who wasn't part of the royal family and examined him. As for Pasua, she said something to Heaven Defying and flew onto the stage. Is there no one else in Sea Dragon City? It's actually a female cultivator. Seeing that it was Pasua who flew up, Wu Meng sneered disdainfully. Sea Dragon City's female cultivators are enough to deal with you. Why should we send a male cultivator? Pasua replied coldly. I think you're here to die. Wu Meng roared and took out his blood-red long-handled sword, slashing at Pasua. Facing Pasua, who had a long-handled sword, he did not hesitate at all. She used one of her ultimate skills, Thousand Illusion Net, to block Wu Meng's long-handled sword. Then, she took the opportunity to use Thousand Illusion Eyes, summoning all the thousands of eyeballs in her vertical eye. She used the black hole to attack her opponent continuously. For a moment, the stage was filled with black light. You're quite capable. Wu Meng, who was facing Pasua, could clearly feel the pressure. He immediately ignited his sea dragon bloodline. When he ignited his bloodline, his aura immediately rose by a lot. It became much easier to dodge the black light of Thousand Illusion Eyes. I still have many more abilities. I'll let you see the ultimate skills exchanged from Lu Tian Academy. Pasua knew that the Thousand Illusion Eyes' continuous attacks would not hit and would consume her divine essence energy. So, she directly used the ultimate skill exchanged from Lu Tian Academy with her points. Traceless Lu Tian. This move was the cheapest ultimate skill in Lu Tian Academy, but its power was not weak at all. After Pasua used it, she immediately unleashed an earth-shattering attack on the stage. She suddenly summoned a huge sword behind Wu Meng. It slashed down silently. Amidst the exclamations of the audience, Wu Meng didn't even have time to react before he was cut in half. Pasuo took the opportunity to shatter his Dantian and divine soul, successfully killing him. Then, she cut down Tian and I and said, "City Governor, Pasuo did not disappoint you. There's a reward." Tian and I praised with a smile and threw out a space ring. Inside the ring, there were all kinds of resources. "Thank you, City Governor." After receiving the reward, Pasuo smiled and flew off the stage. Then, on the Sea Dragon King's side, it was indeed the non-royal sea dragon that Night Sorrow and the rest had guessed. After he went on the stage and introduced himself, Night Sorrow and the rest found out that this sea dragon was called Wu Huan and was Wu Meng's brother. "Su Lei, you go." Seeing Wu Huan on the stage, Night Sorrow observed with confidence and then let Su Lei go on the stage. As soon as Su Lei went on the stage, many creatures of the Sea of Evil were stunned. They did not expect that the second person from Sea Dragon City would be a female practitioner. Seeing that Su Lei went on the stage, Wu Huan frowned and said, "You came up just in time. I'll let you go down and accompany my brother. You brothers should reunite." Facing Wu Huan's provocation, Su Lei did not show any weakness. After that, she directly attacked Wu Huan. Su Lei did not use her ultimate skill right away. She wanted to test Wu Huan's strength. In comparison, she was calmer than Pasuo. Chapter 3205. Although Su Lei's attack wasn't very strong when he was testing the waters, Wu Huan still treated him seriously. After all, Wu Meng's incident was still fresh in his mind. Although he was arrogant, he was still very cautious when he fought. Seeing Wu Huan's performance, the Sea Dragon King, who was originally very irritable, calmed down. He praised, "Wu Huan's performance is not bad. Thank you for the compliment." Hearing the Sea Dragon King's praise, Wu Huan immediately replied in surprise. After that, in the battle with Su Lei, he became more and more stable. Not a single drop of water leaked out, and he faintly gained the upper hand. Does Su Lei have any tricks up her sleeve? The situation doesn't look too good. Seeing that Su Lei was still unable to turn the situation around even after using several secret techniques, the heaven-defying bead asked Yisheng. He didn't want to see anyone on his side lose. After all, losing here meant death. Comic after transmigrating to AD 3000. Based on my understanding of Su Lei, she's definitely not that simple. Night Sorrow knew that Su Lei was definitely stronger than what she was showing, so he wasn't too worried. Including Ao Lai, who had already lost 2 people, the spectators from the Sea of Evil were extremely depressed. Seeing that Su Lei was being suppressed by Wu Huan, they instantly became excited and kept cheering for Wu Huan. This made Wu Huan braver as he fought. However, thinking of the Sea Dragon King's praise, he didn't advance rashly. He had been steadily organizing his attacks. "It's time for you to die." In this state, the battle went on for about an hour. Su Lei, who had been at a disadvantage, suddenly roared and ignited Yujia's bloodline. She used Yujia's ultimate technique and fiercely attacked Wu Huan. Su Lei, who had transformed into Yujia, this attack was at least 20 times stronger than her previous attack. Wu Huan, who had been steadily attacking and defending, couldn't react at all. When facing this attack, he didn't even organize the defense that he should have and was instantly killed by Su Lei's attack. Su Lei, who had killed Wu Huan, returned to her human form. The Yujia bloodline in her body wasn't very strong. Therefore, when she used her bloodline's ultimate technique, she suffered a huge backlash. After the battle ended, Night Sorrow arranged for her to sit on the seat beside him. She controlled the rhythm so well, as expected of someone from Lu Tian Academy. Well fought, well fought. Seeing Su Lei's victory, Tian and I took out a ring with a smile and threw it towards her. Then, he looked at the Sea Dragon King and said, "Brother Dragon King, I wonder who will be fighting next?" The Sea Dragon King's gaze was on Su Lei. Only after being called did he come back to his senses and say, "We will send Ao Xian." Let's invite the 8th prince. Tian and I knew that Ao Xian was the 8th prince of the Sea Dragon King, so he said, "All right." The Sea Dragon King immediately looked at the 8th prince Ao Xian and said, "Yes, father. Ao's battle Ao fighting the deaths of Ao Lai, Wu Meng, and Wu Huan not only didn't make him afraid, but also made him very excited. This battle, his belligerent and fearless. Who wants to challenge me?" Flying above the arena, Ao Xian looked at the heaven-defying camp and roared. Ao Xian challenged. Yunyi looked at Night Sorrow and said. Hearing this, Yi Shang said with a smile, "Brother Yunyi, it's better that you take the field. You should have no problem suppressing Ao Xian with your middle heavenly supreme strength." "It's not a problem for me to suppress him. But the problem is, who's going to fight against the sea dragons in the future?" Yunyi asked in confusion. "The strength of sea dragon's side definitely has the advantage. We can only win one round at a time. Brother Yunyi, you should fight. Leave the rest of the battle to me and the experts the city lord invited," Night Sorrow explained to Yunyi. Among the experts invited by the heaven-defying bead, there were 3 who were stronger than Yunyi and could be considered experts. Night Sorrow felt that it was reasonable for Yunyi to fight now. As for him, he would wait until Yunyi took the stage to fight. "Alright, since you're so confident, I'll go first," Ao Xian challenged. Yunyi didn't want Sea Dragon City to lose face, so he flew up to the stage. "You're a middle heavenly supreme, but you're so timid that you don't dare to fight. What a joke." Ao Xian mocked after sizing up Yunyi. He wasn't afraid of Yunyi, who was a middle heavenly sovereign. "We're arguing about who's the weakest. You're the weakest. That shouldn't be a problem, right?" Yunyi replied Tifert. Even now, he still felt that he should fight after Night Sorrow. He didn't care about the lives of the people Tian and I had hired. "No problem. But the problem is, who's the stronger one? The weak one needs to die." Facing Yunyi, Ao Xian roared and directly transformed into Long Xing to attack him. "Freeze. Ice. Seal." Yunyi immediately used the 100 Words mantra against Ao Xian's attack. Compared to Night Sorrow, he had a deeper understanding of the 100 Words mantra. What he displayed was a combination of character formulas. Ao Xian's speed slowed down a lot after he used the 3-word mantra. Ao Xian thought that the speed was only temporary. He didn't expect that he would be slowed down for the rest of the battle. This made him very uncomfortable. In this state of being slowed down, Ao Xian was constantly in a suppressed state when fighting with Yunyi. Even when they were fighting with their lives on the line, Ao Xian didn't explode. In the end, Yunyi successfully killed him. The people from Sea Dragon City actually won again. Including Ao Lai, for people from the Sea of Evil have been killed. How can we accept this? Sea Dragon King wasn't the only one who was gloomy when he saw Ao Xian killed. Everyone from the Sea of Evil was enraged. None of them didn't feel embarrassed. Ever since Sea Dragon City and the Sea of Evil had established diplomatic relations, the Sea of Evil had always taken the initiative. They had never been abused like this before. Sea Dragon King immediately looked at one of the princes and said, "Second brother, you'll fight. I don't think anyone on their side is stronger than you. Go and kill your opponent. Boost our morale." "Yes, father. I won't let you down." Second Prince Ao Xiong responded and immediately flew onto the stage. Tian Ni's expression changed when he saw that it was Second Prince Ao Xiong. He was clear that no one on his side was Ao Xiong's opponent. He looked at Night Sorrow and said, "This Ao Xiong is very strong. No one on our side can fight against him. What should we do?" "I have a good plan to defeat this Ao Xiong." "That's good," Yi Shang said unhurriedly. Chapter 3206. "Oh, what good plan do you have? Don't tell me you want to use your own foundation to fight against him? This won't do. If the treasure is too precious, it will cause the Sea Dragon King to covet it." Hearing this, Tian and I immediately asked, "It's not that I want to fight. Didn't the Sea Dragon King lose his 3 daughters to us? Why don't we just send one of them to fight Ao Cheong? Whether he lives or dies, it has nothing to do with us. Night Sorrow explained and then continued, as for the other princes, they will also receive the same treatment. Although they are strong, it is a life and death battle with their own brothers. Even if they win, the Sea Dragon King will not have any face. He knew that both sides had already reached the climax of the battle. Saying anything now would be useless. After all, because of this battle, both sides had cancelled the meal segment. This method is very good. It can prevent us from dying for no reason and also attack the Sea Dragon King. However, he won't explode because of this, right? When Tian and I heard Night Sorrow's tactic, he immediately slapped the table and praised. At the same time, he was worried that the Sea Dragon King would explode. As for pity, it did not exist at all. Although this method was a bit cruel, the Sea Dragon King asked for it. If he did not have ideas about Su Lei and forced the Sea Dragon City to accept the 10 life and death challenges, things would not have turned out like this. Which of the 3 of you is the weakest? Go up and fight with Ao Cheong. After pondering for a while, Tian and I felt that he could not let his subordinates die, so he looked at the 3 princesses and said. At this moment, he had the upper hand, which made him secretly happy. He had come to the Sea of Evil many times, but this was the first time he had completely suppressed the Sea Dragon King. Although this feeling could not be compared to snatching the sea-calming divine iron, it was still very satisfying. And this sentence was like a judgment. It made the 3 daughters of the Sea Dragon King, Ao Yu, Ao Shui and Ao Yun, all stunned. Eldest Princess Ao Yu said angrily, "What does the battle between you 3 have to do with the 3 of us? We are not going." Hearing this, Tian and I sneered, "The 3 of you are our servants and have no right to refute. Whoever is the weakest will go up. None of you can escape. The other 2 opponents are the first prince and the 3rd prince. I'm going to send the strongest of you to fight the 3rd prince. If I'm still killed, then there's nothing I can do." "You devil! We won't comply." Hearing this, eldest Princess Ao Yu instantly roared furiously. She couldn't accept the fact that they had to face her brother. Even though the relationship between them and those so-called princes could not be considered harmonious. The real devil is the Sea Dragon King. If it wasn't for him, you wouldn't have lost to me, and we wouldn't have participated in this life and death battle. If you want to blame someone, blame him, Tian and I said coldly. Then he saw that the 3 of them didn't want to go on stage. He pointed at Ao Yun and said, "It's you. Go up the stage and fight with Ao Cheong. Remember your place." "I'm not going." When Ao Yun saw Heaven Defying pointing at him, he immediately refused with a roar. Hearing this, Heaven Defying smiled coldly and said, "Go or not, it's not up to you at all. Don't forget the Heavenly Tao contract between us. Either way, we're going to die. Kill me if you can." When Ao Yun heard this, she still didn't have the intention to go on stage. She even raised her head and waited for Tian and I to kill her. At this moment, Tian and I didn't care about Ao Yun at all. Instead, he looked at the Sea Dragon King and said, "Dragon King, the people we sent out won't go on stage. How do you think this matter should be resolved?" He was kicking the problem to the Sea Dragon King. No matter how the Sea Dragon King handled it, it would be beneficial to his side. Hearing this, the Sea Dragon King, who already understood that Tian and I was going to send his 3 princesses on stage, his expression immediately became even gloomier. After being silent for a while, he looked at Ao Yun and said, "For this round, I'll count it as your Sea Dragon City forfeiting. Ao Cheong, come down." In the end, he still didn't ruthlessly order his 3 daughters to go on stage and personally watch his children kill each other. Furthermore, he didn't give Tian and I any chance to refute. "Alright, this way it's fine too. My Sea Dragon City has lost this round." When Tian and I got such an answer, he was completely emotionless. He also didn't wish to drive the Sea Dragon King completely crazy. That way, they might very well have to fight here. It was disadvantageous to the brewing matter. As for Night Sorrow and the rest, they also felt that this was fine. After all, they weren't particularly cruel people. They had no choice but to make such a choice. It wasn't bad to use the three of them as a token to avoid death. As for the spectators of the Sea of Evil, they didn't dare to express any opinions at all. They didn't dare to go against the Sea Dragon King's wishes at all. Seeing that no one objected, the Sea Dragon King looked at Tian and I and said, "Since this round is so clear, I'll send Aoshin for the next round." Aoshin was none other than his seventh prince. "Father." Hearing his name, Aoshin bowed to the Sea Dragon King and flew onto the stage. Looking at the people of Sea Dragon City, he said, "If you have the guts, come out and fight like a man. Using women to save your life, what kind of ability is that?" "I'll fight with him." This time, without waiting for Tian and I to speak, Night Sorrow directly said, "Are you confident?" After Night Sorrow finished speaking, Tian and I asked with concern, "Yes." "According to my observation, he shouldn't be much stronger than Ao Lai. I have the copybook with me, so I have a chance to defeat him." Night Sorrow, who was observing Ao Shen with the Mirage Dragon's eye, replied with certainty. He had the copybook and the strange coffin. It was impossible for him to lose. "Then I won't waste time on pleasantries. Be careful," Tian and I said to Night Sorrow. "But," Yi Shang said and waved to the crowd. He then flew to the arena and said to Ao Shin, "I'll fight you." "It's you." Ao Shin, who was staring at Night Sorrow, flew into a rage when he realized that it was him on the stage. "Today I will avenge Ao Lai. Prepare to die." Without giving Night Sorrow a chance to talk back, Ao Shin summoned his battle pet right away. It was a huge wolf with red fur. The huge wolf pounced on Night Sorrow at once. It was very fast. In the old days, Night Sorrow would have fallen for the attack. However, at the moment, Night Sorrow used the 9 steps of the Defiant and dodged the attack with ease. However, the huge wolf's attacks were violent. Even though Night Sorrow kept dodging, the wolf would not give up. While the huge wolf was attacking, Ao Shin had been preparing for an attack. It had been preparing for a long time. It had been over a dozen breaths, but it had yet to launch an attack. Night Sorrow was surprised and alarmed at the same time. Yun Yi reminded him, "Be careful. He is summoning a powerful demon. If the summoning succeeds, you won't have to deal with it." Chapter 3207. "Well, I'll interrupt his summoning then." Night Sorrow replied as he dodged the wolf's attack with the 9 steps of the Defiant. He used the combination of the Ice, Seal, and Fix character arts. He had learned that from Yun Ye's battles. He had just learned it, but he was able to use it smoothly. He immediately interrupted Ao Shin's summoning. "Bastard! I was so close to summoning the Abyssal Shadow Demon." Ao Shin's face was filled with resentment and regret after his summoning was interrupted. The Abyssal Shadow Demon that he had summoned was very powerful. It was at least as powerful as an upper heavenly supreme. If the summoning was successful, it would be of great help. "I think you should rely on your own strength. You'll only harm yourself if you rely on external forces." After interrupting Ao Shin's summoning, Night Sorrow smirked as he fought against the wolf. When the wolf was first summoned, its attacks were ferocious. However, after a while, Night Sorrow realized that the wolf only knew the 3 moves. The subsequent attacks were all repeated. After familiarizing himself with the wolf's moves, he could easily use the Golden Heavenly Halberd to fight against the wolf. "I was going to ask the Abyssal Shadow Demon to take you to the deep abyss for endless torture. Since the summoning failed, I'll send you to your death." After making sure that the Abyssal Shadow Demon could not be summoned, Ao Shin roared and took out his relic. It was a long, pitch-black blade with a long handle. With the blade in hand, Ao Shin attacked Night Sorrow together with the wolf. "I didn't expect that you, a member of the Sea Dragon royal family, would attack together with your battle pet instead of focusing on yourself. It's really an eye-opener for me." After Ao Shin began to attack, Night Sorrow realized that Ao Shin was assisting the wolf. All the attacks were coordinated with the wolf. This was the first time that he had seen such a situation. "Don't be surprised. What do you know?" Ao Shin replied with disdain after being mocked by Night Sorrow. Then, he continued to attack together with the wolf. With the addition of Ascension, Night Sorrow was under a lot of pressure. At this moment, he combined the 9 steps of the Defiant and the Qingxian spear technique. The combination of the 2 skills worked wonders. Soon, Ascension and the wolf were suppressed. If it weren't for the fact that Ascension and the wolf were telepathic, Night Sorrow would have defeated them. The wolf is still the wolf? At this point in the battle, Yishang was even more surprised. He had thought that Ascension would use his own ultimate skill sooner or later. But that was not the case. Even though Night Sorrow was overpowered, Ascension was still the wolf. At this moment, Night Sorrow activated the Sea Serpent's eye and observed the situation on the stage. The Sea Dragon King, the Dragon King, was not surprised dragon. He guessed that Ascension must have fought like this on a daily basis. Also, Ascension must have some other tricks up his sleeve. Therefore, during the battle, he secretly took out the copybook, just in case. Let's see how long you can jump around. Ascension's eyes grew colder and colder as the battle continued. He must be plotting something. Night Sorrow had been suppressing Ascension and the wolf, but he couldn't find a way to kill them. He noticed that Ascension's eyes were getting colder and colder. He could feel that Ascension was plotting something. Under such circumstances, the battle continued for a few dozen breaths. Ascension's eyes were sharp. I have accumulated enough fighting spirit. Let's transform. Okay, the wolf replied. Then she let out a long howl and transformed into her human form. Ascension also transformed from his dragon form to his human form. Night Sorrow looked at the wolf and saw that it was a woman in human form. After the transformation, her aura had broken through the peak lower heavenly sovereign level and reached the middle heavenly sovereign level. Obviously, she was much more powerful than Ascension. Let me tell you, she is not only my war pet, but she is also my partner. Let's see how you are going to fight against a middle heavenly sovereign. Ascension roared with a smile after both of them had transformed into their human forms. The relationship between the two of you is strange. Night Sorrow said in surprise when he realized that the wolf was Ascension's partner. At the same time, he let down his guard. The wolf had used the fighting spirit to temporarily reach the middle heavenly sovereign level. Although it wasn't easy to deal with, it wasn't impossible. Strange or not, it's not up to you to decide. The giant wolf that had transformed into a human roared coldly and arrogantly. Then, unexpectedly, it merged with Ascension and began to perform its ultimate skill. Sky-shaking wolf soul. It blasted toward Night Sorrow. This skill was an extremely powerful spiritual attack, and it didn't require any guidance. When it was unleashed, it was as terrifying as a sudden clap of thunder. Seems like I was right to take out the copybook in advance. Night Sorrow used the copybook to block the attack, and at the same time, used the soft dragon roar. He was more comfortable with this skill and could use it at will. This was the most appropriate time to use it. He knew that Ascension and the wolf combined to unleash the skill. It was beyond his level and he couldn't withstand it. Bam! With the help of the copybook, Night Sorrow barely withstood the attack. At the same time, he realized that Ascension and the wolf in human form had separated. After unleashing the spiritual attack, the aura on their bodies had weakened by almost 50%. You've been preparing for such a long time to unleash a spiritual attack, and now you're out of energy. Night Sorrow was relieved when he realized that Ascension and the wolf's aura had weakened significantly. However, he didn't let his guard down and continued to fight Ascension and the wolf carefully. In the end, as expected, he killed the two of them. Great. Night Sorrow, well done. When Night Sorrow killed Ascension, Yun Yi and the rest who were worried about him immediately cheered. Tian Ni's face was also filled with joy. The Sea Dragon King's expression wasn't as pleasant. He didn't give Night Sorrow and the rest any time to exchange pleasantries. He said coldly, "Next round." This time, he sent out his own 6th prince. According to Night Sorrow's arrangement, the 4th, 5th, and 6th princes all needed to be joined by Tian Ni's mercenaries. Therefore, this had nothing to do with Night Sorrow and the rest. The remaining 1st and 3rd princes were handed over to the other 2 princesses. Without the pressure of battle, Night Sorrow turned his attention to other directions. He sent a telepathic message to Little 7 and the rest and asked, "Have you guys sensed where Little 8 is? I sensed it the moment I entered the Sea Dragon Imperial City. Little 8 is in the center of the city, in a very conspicuous place. It's not easy to get it." Little 9 replied after Night Sorrow spoke. "A conspicuous place? Where is it?" Night Sorrow asked. Chapter 3208. In the most central square of Sea Dragon City. It is constantly absorbing the dark aura of the Sea of Evil and has completely turned dark. If you want it to regain its original nature, you will need to spend a lot of energy. Little 9 continued to transmit his voice. He felt that if he wanted to completely turn it dark, or rather, purify the 8th level of the demon realm, it would take a long time. After all, the 8th level now was 10 times darker than when he was at that time. It's not a problem for him to be invaded by the dark aura. When Night Sorrow heard Little 9's words, he was not too worried. He felt that the biggest problem was the location of the 8th level. It was a little awkward. As long as they made a move, they would definitely alarm a large number of sea dragons. After pondering for a moment, he said, "We can only wait for Senior Heaven Defying to make a move and cause a big commotion. Only then can we find an opportunity to make a move. It's like this. If you want to take it away, you still need a bit of luck." Little 9 continued. Little 5 and Little 7 had been helping Night Sorrow think of a way. They all knew how much risk they had to take back the 8th level. Boom. Good. 6th Prince, good kill. Just as Night Sorrow and Little 9 were communicating for a short while, the battle on the stage had already ended. 6th Prince Ao Lin had already killed an expert hired by Heaven Defying. In less than 10 breaths of time, a quick victory allowed the creatures of the Sea of Evil to be completely unleashed. This was the victory they had been waiting for. However, the Sea Dragon King, who had lost a few princes, did not seem happy at all. Between his brows, there was still resentment and coldness. After the 5th prince went up, he looked at Su Lei and then looked at Night Sorrow. There was a special meaning in his gaze. This Sea Dragon King probably has his eyes on Su Lei and Little Brother Night. Sitting beside the Sea Dragon King, Heaven Defying followed his gaze. After seeing Su Lei and Night Sorrow, he immediately started to worry for them. He transmitted his voice to Night Sorrow. "This Sea Dragon King has already locked onto you. From now on, before we make a move, don't leave my side." I've already noticed his gaze. If I'm not wrong, he will soon make a move on me and Su Lei. Night Sorrow replied telepathically. He could clearly feel the Sea Dragon King's malice. When the matter of the martial arts arena is over, we will properly discuss the matter of making a move. No matter how anxious this Sea Dragon King is, he will arrange a place for us to rest. He won't attack immediately. Tian and I continued. According to his judgment, the Sea Dragon King would arrange for everyone to take a short break after the battle. At that time, it was very likely that he would completely turn hostile. The Sea Dragon King should have the intention to attack us. The place he arranged must not be entered. Otherwise, I will definitely be trapped in the movement technique. Night Sorrow immediately said after hearing Tian Ni's words. If they rashly entered the place arranged by the Sea Dragon King, they would definitely die miserably. There were definitely many array formations in the Sea Dragon Imperial Palace. Don't worry. The Sea Dragon King will definitely not arrange a powerful formation to trap us. That would expose him. If I revert back to my original form, I can break through ordinary formations. Hearing Night Sorrow's worry, Tian and I said and then continued, "We are going to enter the array he arranged, then break out of the array and catch him off guard." Makes sense? It's a good idea to take a risk. Hearing this, Night Sorrow suddenly felt that this was not bad. Then he transmitted his voice to the restriction-breaking hammer. "How are you guys recovering? If Senior Tian and I can't break the array, you guys will need to take action. We will do our best. But as long as it is a heavenly supreme level array formation, we should be able to break it. After deciphering Yan's calligraphy, our strength is not small. The restriction-breaking hammer's male hammer immediately replied. That's good. Knight Sorrow did not say much. He knew that the restriction-breaking hammer was very strict and would not exaggerate. After that, he began to watch the next battle. This battle lasted a lot longer than the previous one. It lasted for around an hour. The Sea Dragon's fifth prince successfully defeated the Sea Dragon City's cultivators. In the following battles, the Sea Dragon's fourth prince also successfully won. As for the last two battles, because it was a civil war of the Sea Dragon Imperial family, they did not fight at all. After the competition ended, the Sea Dragon King, who had won 3 rounds in a row, had a slightly warmer expression. He looked at Tion and I and said, "Let's go eat first, then I'll send someone to bring you guys to rest. Wait for the next day, we'll hold the trading meeting. I hope that the things that the city lord brought this time are sincere enough." Of course we have sincerity. Tion and I looked at the Sea Dragon King. He knew that the other party had ulterior motives. He would probably do something to the food. He transmitted his voice to remind everyone to pay attention. Therefore, during the banquet, the people of Sea Dragon City basically did not eat anything. This attracted the disdain of the Sea Dragon Imperial family's princes. Knight Sorrow and the rest did not care about their ridicule. Then, the Sea Dragon King arranged for people to bring Tion and I, Knight Sorrow and the rest away and arranged for them to stay in the Sea Dragon Imperial Palace. After arriving at the courtyard arranged by the Sea Dragon King, Tion and I observed the courtyard to see if there was an array formation. Knight Sorrow also observed and realized that there were indeed array patterns in the courtyard. It was just that they were not activated at this time. He transmitted his voice to Tion and I feel that since the Sea Dragon King arranged for us to be together, he might not make a move immediately. He might want to separate you from us tomorrow and then make a move. And this is his territory after all, he still wants stability. Tion and I thought for a while and said, "Do you think we should make a move today?" Of course. The Sea Dragon King in front of us should not know what our goal is, so he can still hold back for now. We must take advantage of the fact that he has not reacted and make a move. He should not expect that we would take the initiative to attack in his territory. Knight Sorrow analyzed. This was what he saw from the arrangements of the Sea Dragon King. That's good. We will rest for a while and make a move. Before I make a move on the Sea Calming Divine Iron, I will release all the cultivators imprisoned in Sea Dragon Imperial City. Once they are released, it will definitely cause chaos. When the Sea Dragon Imperial City is in chaos, I will make a move on the Sea Calming Divine Iron. When the time comes, make a move on the target and then escape. Tion and I instructed and began to make preparations. Knight Sorrow began to explain the tactics to Swaying Lady, Su Lei and the rest. About 6 hours after arriving at the residence, Tion and I transmitted his voice to Knight Sorrow, "Get ready, I'm going." After saying that, he avoided the eyes of the Sea Dragon Imperial Palace and sneaked out of the residence alone. He headed to the cage where the Sea Dragon Imperial Palace imprisoned the cultivators from the outside world. Knight Sorrow and the rest were prepared to make a move and wait for the Sea Dragon Imperial Palace to become chaotic. Chapter 3209. Not long after, the sounds of battle came from afar. Let's begin. Hearing the sounds of battle in the distance, Knight Sorrow immediately transmitted his voice to his friends. At this moment, Yunyi suddenly said, "The array formation where we are seems to have been activated." That's true. Everyone, don't panic. I'll think of a way to break the array formation. Knight Sorrow opened the sea serpent's eye and saw that it was true. He immediately summoned the restriction-breaking hammer. He said, "Quickly break the array. If we're slow, the cultivators of the Sea Dragon Imperial Palace might rush over. If we're intercepted by them, it will be even more difficult for us to attack the 8th level. Don't worry, this array formation is not difficult to break. It won't be difficult for us." After the male hammer of the restriction-breaking hammer finished speaking, it cooperated with the female hammer and began to break the array. After being tempered by Yan's calligraphy, their abilities had been greatly improved. In about 10 breaths of time, they successfully broke the array formation. At this moment, Night Sorrow had already sensed a large group of cultivators approaching. Hence, he said, "Everyone follow me." Heaven-defying left alone. Most of the cultivators of Sea Dragon City were in front of him. Night Sorrow felt that if they stayed, they would definitely encounter a fierce battle, so he brought everyone away. After leaving the residence that the Sea Dragon King had arranged for everyone, Night Sorrow arranged for Centurion Heichi and the others to support Heaven-defying and those cultivators who had been imprisoned for many years. He was clear that the Heaven-defying bead had an advantage by releasing those people alone. But in a large-scale battle, it would definitely be difficult for two fists to fight against four hands. After Heichi and the others went to support, Night Sorrow summoned the puppet sea dragon Ao Shui and transformed into his appearance. He stored Yun Yi, Whirling Woman and the others into the spatial grotto heaven, broke through the various restrictions of the Sea Dragon Imperial Palace and rushed towards the square in the center of the city. This sea dragon Ao Shui was the illegitimate son of the Sea Dragon King. Everyone in the Sea of Evil knew that. His reputation was quite bad. On the way to the square, they encountered many cultivators and immediately avoided them. While they were rushing, shocking flames erupted in the Sea Dragon Imperial Palace. Even the roar of the Sea Dragon King could be heard. Clearly, the battle was getting more and more intense. Senior Heaven-defying situation doesn't seem good. The Sea Dragon King's voice came out so quickly. If he was intercepted, how could he obtain the sea-calming divine iron? Night Sorrow, who was looking back at the Sea Dragon Palace, immediately felt worried when he heard the Sea Dragon King's voice. At this moment, Little 7 said, "I can sense that the cultivator guarding Little 8 is being transferred to the Sea Dragon Imperial Palace. It's the best opportunity for us to go now. Hurry up." "Alright." Night Sorrow responded and quickly headed to the 8th floor. To him, this was his first goal. He was prepared to obtain it and then consider whether or not to return to the palace and help the Heaven-defying bead. "We'll be there soon. Little 8's location is 10,000 miles ahead of us. Our problem right now is that there are some cultivators cultivating inside." After getting closer, Little 9 reminded him. "Don't worry, I have a way." Hearing this, Night Sorrow smiled and roared from 10,000 miles away, "Ao Shui is here. If you don't want to live, then continue to cultivate in the demonic pagoda." Then, as he approached, he continued to shout, "If you want to live, then give me the cultivation pagoda." Many people who were cultivating on the 8th floor of the Eternal Realm were immediately enraged when they heard this. But after waking up, these people immediately felt unlucky when they realized that the person who came was Ao Shui. Those who were weak basically scattered like birds and beasts. Although a few of them were strong, they still chose to leave. They mainly didn't want to offend the Sea Dragon King because of Ao Shui. Although he was an illegitimate child, they couldn't kill him at will. After leaving this place, they all noticed that the Sea Dragon Imperial Palace was already in a state of fire and smoke. They immediately went to see what was going on. Night Sorrow brought his men to the entrance of the 8th floor. At this moment, some of the guards who weren't transferred to the Sea Dragon Imperial Palace walked out one after another. Night Sorrow, who was originally prepared to make a move, realized that there were more than 20 Sky Supreme cultivators present. He immediately gave up on using forceful means to snatch it. He said, "I want to go in and cultivate." "Lord Ao Shui, you can cultivate, but you have to pay the corresponding fee. This is the rule set by the Sea Dragon King." At this moment, the Sea Dragon Imperial Palace was in chaos. If it were anyone else who came to cultivate, they would have chased them away long ago. But they were still polite to Ao Shui. They also knew that this jinx was not to be trifled with. "Let's go in first." These guards had no intention of stopping them. Little 7 immediately sent a voice transmission to Night Sorrow. "Alright, let's go in and think of a way." Night Sorrow replied and casually took out some resources and threw them over. He said arrogantly, "Take the resources and get lost immediately. Don't block the way." Although many guards were unhappy with such an arrogant attitude, they still made way. After all, the impression Ao Shui left on them was too bad. He was a completely unreasonable pervert. They didn't want to provoke such trash at all. Ao Shui's identity is really useful. After successfully entering the pagoda, Yun Yi, who was released, immediately laughed. He was a little emotional. He felt that if the heaven-defying bead could find such a clone, that would be great. However, at this moment, it was obviously not the time to talk about that matter, so he didn't speak. Little 5, little 7, little 9, what should I do to collect him? Night Sorrow, who had released everyone, asked. Little 8, who was in front of him, was in a very strange state. He wasn't sure if he should directly purify him or what. Hearing this, little 7 said, it should be like what little 9 did back then. First, defeat him, then purify him with the power of merit. However, little 8 is now at the level of a heavenly sovereign. He shouldn't be easy to deal with. You don't have to worry about that. I'm very curious. You all can sense him from so far away. Why hasn't he reacted at all when we have already entered? Night Sorrow said, somewhat puzzled. Because I'm waiting for you all to fall into my trap. Night Sorrow had just finished speaking when a voice full of murderous intent came from the 8th level. Even just by listening to the voice, everyone could feel a great evil aura rushing toward them. Have you fallen to such a state? Little 7, who heard the voice, immediately rebuked angrily. Fallen? What do you mean by fallen? I only know that at this moment, all of you combined are no match for me. Just wait to be absorbed by me as nourishment. The 8th level of the Eternal Divine Tower said with a demonic tone. Hearing this, little 5 suddenly said, his voice is a little strange. This isn't just a matter of demonization. It seems like his soul has been corroded by someone. Who cares about him? Purify him directly first. Little 7, who was infuriated, said angrily. You want to purify me? Let's see if you have the ability to do so. Hearing this, little 8 laughed maliciously. He was obviously very confident in himself. Chapter 32:10. No matter what situation he is in, let's purify him first. Little 8's reaction made little 7 a little unhappy. He said to Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow nodded and said, okay, let's try to hurry. Then we might be able to support Senior Heaven Defying and the others. How should we cooperate? At this moment, Dancing Woman and the others asked with some doubts. They were in the tower and didn't know what to do. When the battle starts, those guards will definitely appear. You guys are in charge of dealing with those guards. Leave the rest to me, little 5, little 7, and little 9. Night Sorrow looked at Dancing Woman and said. At this moment, little 8 had already started to make trouble. He summoned some of the cultivator's souls that he had devoured before and appeared in front of everyone. Let's get rid of these things first. The guards hadn't come in yet. Clearly, little 8 hadn't informed them. He might have had unparalleled confidence in himself and wanted to fight against Night Sorrow and the others. But it was obvious that he had overestimated himself. The souls or wandering souls that were summoned didn't have much combat strength at all. They were quickly killed by Night Sorrow and the others. At this moment, little 8 realized that his judgment was wrong. He had underestimated his opponent. So he sent a voice transmission to the guards and asked them to come and support him. Although they were a little afraid of Ao Shui, they still rushed over together. Compared to Ao Shui making things difficult for them, they were more afraid of losing things and angering the Sea Dragon King. After all, offending him meant certain death. When the guards arrived, Yun Yi, Dancing Woman, and the others immediately started fighting with them. As for Night Sorrow, he chose to leave them and prepared to find a hidden area to purify little 8. There were too many people in front of him. It wasn't appropriate for him to use the power of merit. Regarding this, the 8th floor of the Eternal Divine Tower didn't stop him. Instead, it helped him teleport to a separate space. This is the Nirvana space. After teleporting to a separate space, little 7 immediately reminded, this Nirvana space has the ability to refine cultivators' souls. Night Sorrow, be careful not to be refined. I will be careful. Night Sorrow replied and summoned the Dragon of Merit. However, The dragon of virtue had been concealed. It looked like a black dragon. If one didn't sense it carefully, they wouldn't realize that it was actually an extremely sacred energy. Is this all you've got? I think you should protect yourselves first. At this moment, the 8th level of the Eternal Divine Tower suddenly sneered. Then, countless evil spirits were summoned from the nirvana space. These were the bodies of cultivators whose souls had perished and turned into walking corpses. After no less than 100 evil spirits appeared, they all rushed towards Night Sorrow. Facing these evil spirits, Night Sorrow didn't hesitate and immediately charged over with the golden heavenly halberd. After fighting for a while, he felt that the pressure of the battle was too great, so he separated from the puppet. He used his true body and the puppet to fight together. Relying on the 9 steps of the Defiant of the Heavens, he quickly destroyed these evil spirits that had hard bodies but were not very fast. Annihilation Divine Soul. After Night Sorrow and the puppet Aushue destroyed the evil spirit in front of them. The 8th level of the Eternal Divine Tower didn't give them a chance to breathe at all and immediately used the Nirvana Space's ultimate technique. The Annihilation Divine Soul was attacking their souls. The puppet Aushue's soul had already been destroyed, so it wasn't affected at all by such an attack. And when Night Sorrow was attacked, he took out the copybook to block it. This caused the copybook to dim completely, but he wasn't hurt at all. Then, Night Sorrow began to use the Dragon of Merit that he summoned to purify the dark aura of the 8th level. What kind of energy is this? The 8th level of the Eternal Divine Tower that was being purified immediately realized that something was wrong. The reason for that was because the power of virtue was simply too powerful in purifying him. He was simply unable to resist at all. This was completely different from what he had expected. He's being suppressed. I didn't expect that once the power of merit is used, little 8 wouldn't be able to resist at all. Seeing that Night Sorrow was purifying little 8 with the power of merit, little 7 was instantly overjoyed. He didn't expect things to go so smoothly. It's too early for you to be happy. At this moment, a cold voice sounded again. The blackened little 8 sneered, I won't be subdued so easily. Then he summoned a doppelganger from the Annihilation Divine Space. The doppelganger of the Sea Dragon King. After being summoned, the doppelganger of the Sea Dragon King was stunned at first. Then, he looked at Night Sorrow and the rest and immediately understood what was going on. He sneered, You really have guts. You dare to covet my things? Go to hell. After roaring, he launched an attack at Sorrow. The strength of the Sea Dragon King was at the peak of the upper heavenly sovereign level and was about to enter the half-step to the supreme realm. Although it was just a doppelganger, Night Sorrow was powerless against it. Left with no choice, he could only take out the ancient coffin and block in front of him. When the doppelganger of the Sea Dragon King hit the ancient coffin, it was immediately absorbed completely. There wasn't even a ripple. What kind of treasure is this? Looking at the ancient coffin floating in front of Night Sorrow, the doppelganger of the Sea Dragon King said in shock. But at this moment, his face suddenly changed and he said, Not good. Something has happened to the sea calming iron. I have to rush over. Eternal Devil Tower, protect yourself for a while. I'll be back soon. What? Hearing this, the 8th level of the Eternal Divine Tower collapsed. He didn't expect the doppelganger of the Sea Dragon King to leave at this moment. And Night Sorrow knew what was going on. It should be the heaven-defying beast snatching the sea-calming iron. That was something that the Sea Dragon clan would risk their lives to protect. Naturally, it was more important than the 8th level of the Eternal Divine Tower. After that, without the threat of the Sea Dragon King's doppelganger, Night Sorrow successfully purified Little 8, who had no resistance. After being purified, Little 8 began to help Night Sorrow and the rest deal with the guards. They successfully eliminated all the guards. Let's go near the sea calming iron and check out the situation. If they are evenly matched, we'll help. If the difference is too great, we'll leave immediately. After Night Sorrow got Little 8, he thanked Yun Yi and the rest and said. Hearing this, no one had any objections. In fact, if there was a chance, they all wanted to get some of the sea calming iron and use it to strengthen their own divine weapons. just as they were rushing to the location of the sea-calming iron. Little 7, Little 8, and Little 9 had successfully merged together to form a new Heavenly Supreme Divine Tower. Although it was at the Heavenly Supreme level, its usefulness had increased countless times. Not only did it have a cultivation space that was 10 times faster, but it could also refine cultivation and resources directly into pure energy that could be absorbed directly. As long as a cultivator absorbed the converted pure energy, they would be able to raise their cultivation and save countless years of cultivation. Chapter 32:11. Its power was much stronger than Little 7's. And after combining, it could even release some energy directly to attack the enemy. It was almost equivalent to an attack from a Middle Sky Supreme. Its power was still very strong. It was no longer a decoration. It feels very good to combine them. Night Sorrow, let's hurry to the place where the battle is happening. We can quickly absorb the energy and convert it into pure energy that you can absorb. We can also help you attack. When Yi Shang was flying towards the Sea Dragon Royal Palace, Little 7 and Yi Shang were preaching the Tao. Then he told Night Sorrow that the more serious the casualties, the more powerful they were and could absorb a large amount of energy from the dead. I got it. However, there is the Sea Dragon King and many Sea Dragons experts in the Sea Dragon Palace. We have to get closer bit by bit. Otherwise, we can't guarantee everyone's safety. While Night Sorrow replied, he had been using the Sea Dragon's eye to observe the situation around him. After approaching the Sea Dragon Palace, he sent a voice transmission to Heaven Defying. Senior Heaven Defying, how are things on your side? I have already brought people to the periphery of the Sea Dragon Palace. If you need our help, just say the word. Now, the Sea Dragon King and his elites have all been lured away by me and are far away from the Sea Dragon Palace. The ones fighting inside are basically my subordinates and the cultivators who were rescued. Heaven Defying, who heard the voice transmission, said and continued, their lives are important. But now, there is something more important. I didn't take out the sea-calming divine iron and was discovered by the Sea Dragon King. At this moment, they are all chasing me. You can try and see if you can take out the sea-calming divine iron. Senior Heaven Defying, I will try my best to help you snatch the sea-calming divine iron. Night Sorrow sent a voice transmission to Heaven Defying. Then he sent a voice transmission to everyone in front of him, telling them about this matter and seeing who agreed and who disagreed. In the end, no one objected. Only Little 7 sent a voice transmission to Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow, we need to go to the battlefield and absorb the energy. Only then can we help you better. Then let's split up for now. You guys go and absorb the energy. If we succeed, I will send a voice transmission to you and then everyone will gather together. How about this? Can you guarantee your safety? Night Sorrow transmitted his voice to Little 7. It can guarantee our safety, but just in case, you still need to inscribe a concealment formation on our bodies. Little 7 asked Night Sorrow to summon them. Good. Remember, you must pay attention to your safety. It's best if you don't lose yourself because you've absorbed too much darkness energy. Got it? As Night Sorrow spoke, he inscribed a concealment array pattern on the tower. After hearing Night Sorrow's instructions, Little 7, Little 8, and Little 9 all gave their word and flew into the sky. After that, Night Sorrow led his men to the location of the sea-calming divine iron. Along the way, he sent voice transmissions to Heaven Defying to ask about the sea-calming divine iron. The Heaven Defying bee did not respond in time. It was obvious that it was having a hard time being chased by the Sea Dragon King. However, he still explained the matter clearly. After that, the Heaven Defying beast sent a voice transmission. After you succeed, don't return to Sea Dragon City. Go straight to Slaughter Heaven Academy. If you can get all of the sea-calming divine iron, please leave me 1/10. That 1/10 can allow me to recover to half-step to Supreme Realm. Don't worry, Senior Heaven Defying. If I get it, I'll definitely keep it for you. After you escape, come to Slaughter Heaven Academy to find me. After Night Sorrow said that, he began to explain to everyone about the sea-calming divine iron. The Heaven Defying beast sent a voice transmission at the end. Don't worry, I know Heaven-Defying's 9 steps. Furthermore, I can transform back into a sword body. My speed can increase a lot. I won't be killed so easily. Good. Senior. See you at Slaughter Heaven Academy. After Night Sorrow said that, his attention was immediately focused. That was because he had already led his men to the sea-calming divine iron. As the Sea Dragon King and other super experts were mostly chasing after the heaven-defying beast. Ordinary guards were fighting with the cultivators of Sea Dragon City and those who were released. There were only 4 people left guarding the sea-calming divine iron. They were the 4th prince, the 5th prince, and their Dao companions. Their Dao companions were also sea dragons, but they were not of the Sea Dragon King's bloodline. Their auras were slightly weaker than the 4th prince and the 5th prince, but they were all experts among the lower heavenly sovereigns. The 4 of them were now underground, guarding the sea-calming divine iron. Night Sorrow also used the Sea Dragon's eye to see the 4 of them underground. There are 4 people below. Their strength is at the peak of the lower heavenly sovereign level. When we go down later, we will directly use the joint attack array. We should be able to finish them off quickly. After we finish them off, we will take the sea-calming divine iron. After Night Sorrow said that, he followed the entrance and entered the underground where the sea-calming divine iron was. As soon as they entered, they alarmed the 4th prince and the 5th prince, as well as their Dao companions. They saw that it was Night Sorrow and some other cultivators who had killed the Sea Dragon King. The 4th prince and the 5th prince's faces were filled with murderous intent. The 2 of them and their Dao companions did not say a word. As they transmitted their voices to the Sea Dragon King, they immediately attacked Night Sorrow and the rest. You overestimate yourselves. If I were you, I would definitely choose to escape immediately. It's better than losing your lives here. Seeing the 4th prince, the 5th prince, and their Dao companions directly attack. A dark smile immediately appeared on Dancing Lady's face. Her vertical eye also opened. And the truth was basically the same as she had expected. The 4th prince, the 5th prince, and their Dao companions were not a match for Night Sorrow and the rest at all. In less than 30 breaths of time, they were all killed by Night Sorrow and the rest. We have to hurry up. Before they died, they must have already sent a voice transmission to the Sea Dragon King. The Sea Dragon King will rush back soon. After killing the enemies guarding the place, Night Sorrow immediately looked at the sea-calming divine iron. This sea-calming divine iron was a thick black iron pillar. Its entire body was enveloped by dense black gas, emitting a powerful aura. However, this thing was a dead object and did not have an artifact spirit. With a glance, Night Sorrow determined that this thing was definitely very hard. He said, "Let's try our best to collect it. Let's try to collect as much as we can." Alright. After Night Sorrow spoke, Dancing Lady and the rest did not delay and directly flew towards the sea-calming divine iron. However, after each of them tried, they all frowned. This sea-calming divine iron was simply too hard. They tried their best to attack with their divine weapons, but they could only cut off some iron shavings. Even if they used their special skills, they could not get it off. I finally know why the Sea Dragon King only left 4 people to guard this sea-calming divine iron. It turns out that this thing is so difficult to collect. Xian Nian, who had tried but could not collect a single bit of the sea-calming divine iron, said helplessly. Yun Yi looked at Night Sorrow and asked, "Do you have a way to collect this thing?" Guarding this treasure but not being able to take it off at all, this feeling is really uncomfortable. Chapter 32:12. Senior Heaven Defying has already sent me a voice transmission, telling me that the Sea Dragon King has given up on chasing him and has chosen to turn back. We don't have much time left. Let me try. Night Sorrow said and activated the Treastrimsa Battle Mystic technique. Then he used the Golden Heavenly Halberd to unleash the Godly Shot. This was his stronger attack. However, it had no effect on the divine sea-calming iron. Against a material that was half a step into the limitless realm, his attack level was still too low. He could not shake it at all. Looks like it won't work. Although it's a pity, we have to go. Otherwise, when the Sea Dragon King returns, we'll all be killed. Seeing that Night Sorrow's attack had no effect, Yen Tianlai said. His words immediately received the agreement of Dancing Lady, Wu Hua, and the others. They all knew that no one present had the ability to obtain the divine sea-calming iron. I'll try one last time. At this moment, Night Sorrow, who had been silent for a moment, spoke again. He took out the ancient coffin from the space, charged it, and smashed it. After all, the ancient coffin had appeared in front of everyone. He had no intention of continuing to hide it. Of course, this was also because the divine sea-calming iron was too valuable. Boom! When the ancient coffin smashed onto the divine sea-calming iron, it immediately let out a loud explosion. And the divine sea-calming iron that was hit was directly broken and collapsed on the spot. Success! Amazing! Seeing that Night Sorrow had used the ancient coffin to break the divine sea-calming iron, Dancing Lady immediately shouted in surprise. She knew that if Night Sorrow succeeded, everyone present would benefit. She was very excited to be able to obtain a half-step to Supreme Realm material. The others were also very happy. Yen Tianlai even raised his arms and shouted, "Be quiet, don't alarm the other enemies." After Yun Yi reminded, he immediately looked at Night Sorrow and said, "Brother Yi, quickly collect it. Let's leave quickly. Then I'll collect the divine sea-calming iron first. When we return to Lu Tian Academy, we'll split it evenly. Of course, Senior Heaven Defying will have a share. Does anyone have any objections?" Night Sorrow said before he was about to collect the divine sea-calming iron. Hearing this, Su Lei, who had been silent all this while, urged, "Why are you still being so wishy-washy at this time? Hurry up and collect them. Let's leave this place before the Sea Dragon King returns." He had to act fast. If we delay for even a moment, we might not be able to escape. Shen Yan said anxiously. To them, the Sea Dragon King was an invincible existence. However, Night Sorrow had used brute force to break the sea-calming divine iron. This was already considered a pleasant surprise. They were all very satisfied. As for how much they would get, that was a matter for later. First, they had to leave safely. "Everyone, please enter my space paradise. I will take you out of here." After collecting the divine sea-calming steel, Night Sorrow looked at everyone and said, when he used the 9 steps of the Defiant of the Heavens, his speed was faster than everyone present, which was why he said that. Hearing this, Yun Yi, Shen Yan, and Ape Tianlai, who had complete faith in Night Sorrow, entered without hesitation. Seeing this, the remaining cultivators didn't dally and were sucked in one after another. After that, Night Sorrow took the divine sea-calming steel and his friends and quickly left the underground. When he returned to the surface, he sent a message to Little Seven. "Little Seven, how's the collection going on your side? The Sea Dragon King will be back soon. We need to leave quickly. Hundreds of cultivators and sea dragons have already died here. Every second we stay here, we will gain a lot more. If we collect another 10 breaths, you should be able to advance to an upper earthly sovereign. You decide if you want to take this risk or not." Little Seven quickly sent a message to Night Sorrow. He could advance his cultivation from a middle earthly sovereign to an upper earthly sovereign. This was definitely a great temptation for Night Sorrow. After all, he didn't know how long it would take for him to advance if he relied on his own cultivation. After thinking for a while, Night Sorrow said, "Little Seven, wait for my news. I will ask Senior Heaven Defying how long it will take for the Sea Dragon King to return. You ask first. We will continue to work." Little Seven replied. Together with Little 8 and Little 9, they continued to control the tower's energy. At this time, Night Sorrow sent a message to Heaven Defying. "Senior Heaven Defying, we have already collected the divine sea-calming steel. How long will it take for the Sea Dragon King to return to the Sea Dragon Palace?" He knew that the Sea Dragon King and the rest had given up on chasing Heaven Defying. However, Heaven Defying wouldn't have gone far. The Sea Dragon King is now 20 breaths away from the nearest teleportation portal. In other words, he will return to the Sea Dragon Palace in about 20 breaths. Heaven Defying, who had been following the Sea Dragon King, said, Hearing that the divine sea calming steel had been collected, he was naturally very happy. However, he didn't dwell on this issue. Instead, he revealed his location. He felt that the teleportation portal that Night Sorrow had set up was very close. Hearing this, Night Sorrow said, "Senior, you don't have to move. Just wait for me over there. I will be there soon. I will meet you outside the Sea Dragon City." Heaven Defying heard Night Sorrow's words and immediately refused. "Senior, if you rely on flying to return here, it will take too long. It's better to wait over there." Night Sorrow retorted and transmitted his voice to Little Seven. "Little Seven, come out immediately when you have absorbed enough. The Sea Dragon King will return in about 15 breaths. Don't worry. We will absorb another 5 breaths and it will be enough for you to advance." Little Seven replied and continued to absorb energy. At this moment, Whirling Woman, who was in the space grotto heaven, asked curiously, "Night Demon, why haven't you chosen to escape?" "Don't be anxious. There will be no problem in a few breaths," Night Sorrow promised. Actually, he was also very anxious. However, in order to increase his cultivation, he had to take the risk of 10 breaths. At this moment, No Flower urged, "Boss, hurry up. The Sea Dragon King's strength is not something we can fight against." "It's fine. There's still time." Night Sorrow roughly estimated that they had more than 10 breaths of time left. The Sea Dragon King should need to reflect when he returned to the Sea Dragon Palace before he could catch up. "Night Sorrow, we are back. 2 breaths in advance." Just as Night Sorrow was waiting, Little Seven's voice transmissions suddenly came. Hearing this, Night Sorrow immediately urged, "Hurry! Go faster. We are already trying our best to escape." Little Seven continued. Not long after he finished speaking, Night Sorrow saw them and immediately kept them in the space grotto heaven. Then he quickly flew out of the city. "Where are you going?" "Today, you and the sea calming divine iron cannot leave my sea of evil." After flying for about 10 breaths, Night Sorrow suddenly heard the Sea Dragon King's angry roar. He immediately burned his bloodline power and released his power of merit. He flew towards the teleportation array as fast as he could. He was prepared to use the nearest teleportation array to teleport to where Heaven Defying was. Chapter 32:13. Go faster. I can even feel the Sea Dragon King's aura. As Night Sorrow flew towards the teleportation array, Wu Hua urged him. "Don't worry, we will leave safely." Hearing Wu Hua's words, Night Sorrow replied and continued to speed up. The reason why he was so stable was that when the Sea Dragon King roared, they had already flown out of the Sea Dragon Palace. The elites of the Sea Dragon City were all summoned to the Sea Dragon Palace to fight. Along the way, they did not encounter any cultivators who tried to stop them. They maintained a very fast speed. Moreover, although Night Sorrow's absolute speed was slower than the Sea Dragon King, it was not much slower. Bastard! How can a Middle Earthly sovereign's speed be so fast? The Sea Dragon King, who was chasing behind, could feel Night Sorrow's aura in the void, but he could not see his figure. This made the Sea Dragon King very angry. This was because the divine sea calming iron was extremely important to the Sea of Evil. Basically, it was the source of power. Without it in the future, the strength of the sea dragons in the Sea of Evil would be greatly reduced. This was something that the Sea Dragon King could not accept. Burn. Blood of the Sea Dragon royal family. Unable to catch up, the Sea Dragon King was so angry that he burned his blood and used the power of his blood to increase his speed. With the support of the Sea Dragon royal family's blood, his speed increased by a lot. When Night Sorrow approached the teleportation array, he successfully saw Night Sorrow's figure. Die for this emperor. Seeing that Night Sorrow was about to enter the teleportation array, the Sea Dragon King roared and attacked the teleportation array at the same time. This attack covered Night Sorrow and the teleportation array. In his opinion, even if this attack could not kill Night Sorrow, it would destroy the teleportation array. It's over. This attack is definitely the strongest attack of an upper earthly sovereign. None of us can take it. Seeing that the Sea Dragon King had caught up and attacked, Wu Hua sighed and said. At this moment he somewhat blamed Night Sorrow for stopping for 10 breaths of time. He felt that if it wasn't for those 10 breaths of time, they would have already reached the ends of the world. What are you worried about? Although I don't have the ability to fight with the Sea Dragon King for a long time, receiving one of his attacks is not a problem. Night Sorrow roared and took out the ancient coffin again, blocking in front of him. The Sea Dragon King's attack was directly absorbed by the ancient coffin without even a sound. Yeah. How could I forget about this treasure on your body? It can even break the sea-calming divine iron, let alone the Sea Dragon King's attack. Seeing Night Sorrow use the ancient coffin to block the Sea Dragon King's attack, the swaying woman, who had also become nervous, relaxed. She knew that Night Sorrow had successfully blocked this attack, which meant that they had enough time to use the teleportation array to leave. Sea Dragon King will meet again. At this moment, Night Sorrow did not dare to be careless. He shouted towards the Sea Dragon King and used the teleportation formation to leave. Teleport to the heaven-defying bead's location. Escaped? Very good. Let's continue to use the teleportation formation to teleport further. Quickly leave the Sea Dragon King's territory. When Tian and I saw Night Sorrow, he did not ask about the sea-calming divine iron and directly entered the teleportation formation with him, successfully teleporting out of the Sea of Evil. Then the two of them ran all the way. Using the teleportation formation many times, they successfully returned to the Lu Tian Academy. After arriving at the Lu Tian Academy, Night Sorrow invited Tian and I and the rest to his residence as guests. This was one of his rights. After everyone drank the celebratory wine, Night Sorrow took out the sea-calming divine iron. He said, according to our plan, everyone can distribute this evenly. But now, we don't have the ability to cut it open. I'm going to let Senior Tian and I absorb this sea-calming divine iron first. When he advances to the half-step to the Supreme Realm, we'll let him distribute it for everyone. What do you think? I think this is very reasonable. If we find a half-step to the Supreme Realm to do it, the other party will definitely ask for a high reward. If we distribute it ourselves, there won't be such a problem. Hearing Night Sorrow's words, Swaying Woman agreed. Su Lei and the rest naturally had no objections. Therefore, everyone decided to let Tian and I cultivate at Night Sorrow's place first. When he broke through, he would distribute the sea-calming divine iron. However, Tian and I was also a person who was particular. Before cultivating, he took out all the resources on him and distributed them to everyone present. Everyone, I'll need about 200 years to advance to the half-step to the Supreme Realm. I hope you can wait patiently. Thank you. After distributing the resources, Tian and I began to cultivate in seclusion to absorb the sea-calming divine iron. While Tian and I was cultivating in seclusion, Night Sorrow looked at Swaying Woman and the rest and said, I'm also going to cultivate in seclusion to break through to a new realm. Let's meet again another day. There won't be any deviation. Also, I hope that our cooperation will last for a long time. We're willing to work with you for a long time. After Night Sorrow finished speaking, Swaying Woman took the initiative to speak first. Not to mention Night Sorrow's potential and luck. Just the ancient coffin on him was invincible among the heavenly supreme level. She felt very safe working with Night Sorrow. Wu Hua was already Swaying Woman's subordinate, so he naturally had no objections to this matter. As for Su Lei and the others, they were already Night Sorrow's subordinates, so there was no need to mention them. After the chaotic heavenly crystal beast finished making arrangements for Yun Yi and Xian Yan, Night Sorrow went into seclusion and summoned the lower half of the Eternal Divine Tower. After entering it, according to Little Seven's instructions, he began to absorb energy in the space that was accelerated by 10 times. In the accelerated space, he continuously absorbed for 1,000 years. Night Sorrow felt his aura change, and he successfully advanced to the level of Upper Earthly Supreme. He was not far from the peak of Earthly Supreme. After that, Night Sorrow left the lower half of the Eternal Divine Tower and successfully transcended the tribulation in the sky above his residence. Ha! Congratulations, Brother Knight, for successfully advancing to the next level. At our level, it's not easy to advance even a single step. It's worth celebrating. After Night Sorrow successfully transcended the tribulation, Yun Yi congratulated him. Thank you, Brother Yun. Night Sorrow smiled and said, let's not go home until we're drunk today. But then let's not go home until we're drunk. Also, there's one more thing that I'd like to ask you to vouch for. Yun Yi said at this moment. But what is it? Brother Yun, please tell me. Night Sorrow said, puzzled. It's like this. Brother Xian Yen and I are not from Lu Tian Academy. We've been staying here for a long time, so we don't have much freedom to move around. Therefore, we want to apply for an area within Lu Tian Academy's sphere of influence to do some things. We need you to vouch for this. Yun Yi said slowly. Then, Xian Yen added, in Lu Tian Academy's sphere of influence, we don't have to worry about the Sea Dragon King coming after us. Also, we're very close to Brother Knight, so we can take care of each other. I see. No problem. Wait for me to ask the elders about this. Night Sorrow naturally did not object to this matter. He immediately sent a voice transmission to Elder Su, who had once taken care of him. Chapter 32:14. Night Demon, why are you looking for me? Elder Su replied immediately after receiving Night Sorrow's voice transmission. There was a hint of surprise in his tone. To him, Night Sorrow was definitely someone he could befriend. He did not treat him as an ordinary junior. Elder Su, it's like this. I have 2 friends who want to seek a place to stay in the area controlled by Lu Tian Academy. I wonder what I can do to help them? Yishang asked. He had never done any research on this matter, so he really didn't understand. However, he was very enthusiastic about this matter because it was a good thing for Yun Yi and Xian Yen to develop nearby. They could establish their own forces in the Lu Tian Academy area. Perhaps in the future, they would be the main force of the Eternal Supreme World against the foggy area. Hearing this, Elder Su smiled and said, that's easy. You can use your points to exchange for a territory for them. That's it. So you can use points to exchange for a territory. After Elder Su finished speaking, Night Sorrow immediately asked, how should I exchange for it? Wait for me at my residence. Elder Su rushed to Night Sorrow's residence after he finished speaking. Before long, he arrived. Seeing Elder Su slowly descending from the void, Night Sorrow hurriedly went up to him and said, Night Demon greets Elder Su. Night Demon, there's no need to be so polite. Elder Su was still very polite to Night Sorrow. After greeting him, he said, I'll take you to the exchange office. The exchange office is not on your mountain peak. If you go there on your own, I'm afraid you'll get into trouble. This is a hurdle that every new batch of students has to face. Thank you for taking care of me, Elder Su. Hearing this, Night Sorrow understood that the exchange office was in the public area where the other batches of students would appear. If Elder Su did not bring him along with his current strength, he might be at a disadvantage if he encountered a powerful opponent. After all, Lu Tian Academy did not prohibit students from fighting. We're here. The exchange office is right in front. The territory you need to exchange for won't cost many points. Moreover, it's on the first floor, so there's no exchange limit. However, the size of your territory depends on how many points you spend. With Night Sorrow in tow, the 2 of them arrived at the Treasure Exchange Pavilion in the Slaughter Heaven Academy after flying for a few dozen breaths. Although it was called a loft from afar, it looked like it was connected to the sky. The clouds only covered the 3rd floor of the loft. It's a little too casual to call such a lofty pavilion the Exchange Pavilion. Looking at the exchange loft from afar, Night Sorrow exclaimed in admiration. This was personally made by the Limitless God. Limitless Supremacy doesn't care about trifles. He felt that it was the same name, so he just casually wrote this name on it. When Elder Su mentioned Limitless God, his face was filled with reverence. Then he continued, although the name of this pavilion is simple, it's very simple. But you must not underestimate him. The highest floor of the 9-storied pavilion could even be used to exchange for resources that could allow one to advance to half-step to the Supreme Realm. And a broken Supreme-class divine artifact. Very impressive. You can even exchange it for a broken Paramount divine artifact? Hearing this, Knight Sorrow's interest was piqued. To him, the things he was most interested in were all items related to the Limiter state. Of course there are, but the points are very exaggerated. You'll slowly understand in the future, Elder Su said with a smile, then continued, let's go. I'll bring you in to exchange for territory. But, Elder Su, please. Knight Sorrow gestured to Elder Su. Then, he entered the first floor of the exchange pavilion with Elder Su. After entering the first floor, Knight Sorrow felt as if he had entered a new world. It was very grand. He looked around and realized that the most central position was actually the arena. Around the arena were mountains and rivers. In the mountains and rivers, there were all kinds of battle pets, all of which could be exchanged. The periphery of the mountains and rivers was the place to exchange for divine artifacts. As for the other areas, they were at the outermost area and did not look very eye-catching. The Limitless God said it this way to let everyone understand that as a cultivator, the most important thing is strength, followed by battle pets and divine artifacts. As for the rest, they are all secondary. Do you understand? Elder Su immediately explained to Knight Sorrow. This setting does make sense. I'll go in exchange for territory first, then we'll talk. With that, Yi Shang went to trade for a territory. At a glance, he realized that as long as he had enough points, he could exchange for a territory that was not inferior to a large sect. However, he was a little short on points, so he exchanged for a mountain that covered an area of 1,000,000 miles. Knight Sorrow was quite satisfied with this mountain. Although it did not cover a large area, it was enough to develop his force. Night Demon, I thought you would hide in New Elegant Peak and not come out. Today, I've finally bumped into it. Just as Knight Sorrow was about to show the map of the mountain to Elder Su, a cold voice suddenly sounded. Lin Dongqing? Hearing this voice, Knight Sorrow immediately thought of Lin Dongqing. However, when he turned around, he realized that he did not know the person in front of him. Thus, he asked curiously, "Who are you?" I'm the one who will kill you." After laughing, this person said arrogantly, "Xiao He, can you give me face and not make things difficult for Night Demon today? After all, he was brought here by me." Seeing this person standing in front of Knight Sorrow, Elder Su immediately spoke. "Elder Su, it's not that I don't want to give you face. It's Night Demon who offended Brother Lin and then killed Fan Tu from our batch. He is the common enemy of all the students in our batch." Xiao He glanced at Elder Su and said coldly. It was obvious that he did not care about Elder Su at all. In fact, this was the case. Some forces did not care about ordinary elders like Elder Su at all. But you, a middle heavenly sovereign, want to attack an upper earthly sovereign. If word gets out, it will be a joke. Elder Su immediately put on a fake smile after being rebuked. Xiao He did not give him face at all, which made him very unhappy. In fact, this was also one of the reasons why Elder Su and Knight Sorrow had become friends. A joke? Without strength, how dare you enter the exchange pavilion? If word gets out, it will be a joke. Xiao He said arrogantly after hearing Elder Su's words. At this time, Elder Su still wanted to say something. Knight Sorrow stopped him and said, "Elder Su, you don't have to say anything. I think what Xiao He said makes sense. Everything still depends on strength. But he is a middle heavenly sovereign. You are still far from him." Elder Su said worriedly. Knight Sorrow, who had been whispering to Elder Su, said contemptuously, "He is a middle heavenly sovereign, and he is just a fake. If he was really capable, how could he be suppressed by Lin Dongqing, a lower heavenly sovereign? Bastard! You are courting death." Hearing this, Xiao He immediately said angrily. Chapter 32:15. You don't have the right to judge whether I'm courting death or not. Knight Sorrow looked at Xiao He and said disdainfully, Now, he knew that every student from the previous batch would make things difficult for him. Night Sorrow would not be polite to them. You're really blindly confident. Since you think I'm not qualified, then let's fight in the inner area. Do you dare? Xiaohe saw that Night Sorrow was full of confidence and felt that he did not have the strength to back it up, so he challenged him directly. Night Demon, you've only joined Killer Heaven Academy for a short time. If you fight him, you might need to use your trump card. That's not good for you. At this time, Elder Su sent a voice transmission to Night Sorrow. He was a little worried that Night Sorrow would be defeated or even killed by Xiaohe. Although Yi Shang seemed very confident, Luo Yunyang felt that the gap between the two of them was too great. Don't worry, Elder Su. I've learned some ultimate skills recently, and my strength has increased significantly. I shouldn't need to use that trump card to deal with him. Yi Shang explained to Elder Su via voice transmission. He felt that he did not need to use the ancient coffin to deal with Xiaohe. This was not blind confidence, but a deduction based on the aura of the Sea Dragon Princes. Although Xiaohe's cultivation was very high, his combat strength was only equivalent to the Sea Dragon King's fourth prince's strength. It was not enough to crush him. Elder Su was more or less relieved after Night Sorrow said that. He said, since you're confident, then I'll supervise the battle for you. Don't worry, I won't let him use any underhanded means. Go and fight. Thank you, Elder Su. The grudge between me and the previous batch has been completely formed. We can only rely on the battle to resolve it. Night Sorrow said, then looked at Xiaohe and said, I'll fight with you. It has nothing to do with whether I dare or not. To me, it's just whether I'm willing or not. It's not whether I dare or not, but whether I'm willing or not. How arrogant of you. Get on the stage. Fight with me. I'll let you know the price of arrogance. Xiaohe said coldly. At the same time, he sent a voice transmission to Lin Dongqing and the others, informing them that he was going to fight Night Sorrow. After learning about this, Lin Dongqing and the other students from the previous batch quickly appeared on the first floor of the exchange pavilion. At this time, Night Sorrow and Xiaohe had just made their moves, and both sides were still probing each other. With this move, Night Sorrow was able to make a name for himself in the sporting world. Xiaohe's judgment was similar to his. Now that he had advanced to Upper Earthly Sovereign, he was fully capable of contending against them. Therefore, when he could fight back, he took his time to fight with his opponent. He had continuously received several of Xiaohe's ultimate skills. Having Night Sorrow receive several of his ultimate techniques, Xiaohe's face instantly turned red. He felt as if he had been slapped in the face. Originally, he had thought that he could kill Night Sorrow, who was an earthly sovereign, within 3 moves. But now, he realized that it was not easy to deal with him. More and more people came to watch the battle. Soon, around 100 spectating students and elders appeared around the arena. Seeing so many people watching the battle, Lin Dongqing frowned and sent a voice transmission to Xiaohe, saying, Xiaohe, you are fighting with an earthly sovereign, and you can't even take the initiative to suppress him. Are you trying to embarrass us? He was extremely displeased that Xiaohe couldn't completely suppress Yi Shang. Don't worry, boss, I will kill him today. You just have to wait and see. Xiaohe replied to Lin Dongqing. Although he was stubborn, he was still shocked by Night Sorrow's strength. He had never thought that Night Sorrow, an earthly sovereign, could be so fast. Moreover, his combat power was indeed not weak. He had actually received 4 of his ultimate techniques, and nothing had happened. Hearing Xiaohe's words, Lin Dongqing said angrily, what we want is not only to kill him, but also to kill him to our heart's content. For words, end the battle quickly. Don't embarrass us this year. Boss, don't worry. I just didn't use my strongest strength just now. Xiaohe's face flushed with embarrassment after being reprimanded by Lin Dongqing. He wanted to quickly kill Night Sorrow in front of everyone. Hence, he used all his strength and burned his bloodline power. Burning your bloodline power, ready to fight with your life. Seeing that Xiaohe had burned his bloodline power, Night Sorrow, who had already activated the Sea Serpent's Eye, said calmly. In the process of the battle, he had already figured out Xiaohe's foundation. This person's aura was a little weak, and it was obvious that he had used some methods to advance to his current level. He must have been groomed by a big family through some means, and his foundation was not very stable. He was completely different from a cultivator like Lin Dongqing, who had grown up step by step. At the same time, Yisheng also released the power of his soul to investigate the surrounding students and elders who were watching the battle. He did not forget that one of his main goals in entering the Lu Tian Academy was to help the Supreme Longevity Sect find a suitable body. However, when he swept his gaze across the crowd, he was disappointed by everyone present. No one matched the label. Bastard. You dare to be distracted while fighting with me, Xiao He. How dare you? He realized that Night Sorrow had released his soul power to check on the surrounding students and elders. Xiao He immediately felt that he had been greatly provoked. Killing heaven and earth. With a loud roar, he executed his bloodline's ultimate technique and attacked Yi Sorrow. When Xiao He used this move, the void around Night Sorrow suddenly became distorted. It looked as if the sky and earth were collapsing. Good move. But when you use it, the effect is greatly reduced. Although Xiao He's move looked terrifying, Night Sorrow, who had used the 9 defiant steps, successfully dodged it. He then summoned the lower half of the Eternal Divine Tower and used it to attack. Boom! The attack from the lower half of the Eternal Divine Tower. It was a pure attack from a Middle Heavenly Supreme, and this attack was much stronger than Xiao He's attack. After the attack, it immediately blasted Xiao He, who was attacking away. I've said that your Middle Heavenly Supreme level is fake. You don't have much combat power. After sending Xiao He flying, Night Sorrow sneered and took the opportunity to use the Nirvana Heart Fire that he had learned from Su Lei. He blasted it out. Xiao He did not even have time to react before his soul was shattered. Xiao He. Seeing that Xiao He was killed, Lin Dongqing was so angry that he immediately roared. He did not expect that Xiao He, who had benefited the most from him, would be killed so easily by Night Sorrow. With a roar, Lin Dongqing stood in the middle of the field and looked at Night Sorrow. You win this battle. Next, you and I will fight. Night Demon, you have just fought. According to the rules of the Exchange Pavilion, you can choose to rest for today. It's not too late to fight another day. Seeing that Lin Dongqing had issued a challenge to Night Sorrow, Elder Su immediately sent a message to Night Sorrow. He told him the rules. If a cultivator who had fought in the Exchange Pavilion encountered a challenge, they could choose not to accept it. However, at this moment, Night Sorrow looked at Lin Dongqing and said, I agree to fight with you. Chapter 32:16. Ha! Night Demon! I have to say, although you're not very powerful, you're very courageous. Lin Dongqing was pleasantly surprised to hear that Night Sorrow was not afraid and had accepted his challenge. Courage and insight are things that I have never lacked. Night Sorrow laughed coldly and continued, but for now, I'm indeed weaker than you. You have to admit that. I can fight with you, but the time has to be the moment I leave New Elegant Peak. So you're stalling for time. Good. Let's see how much you've improved in a few hundred years. Let's fight to the death the moment you leave New Elegant Peak. Lin Dongqing calculated and confirmed that Night Sorrow was only a few hundred years away from opening New Elegant Peak. He said nonchalantly. According to his understanding, a few hundred years was nothing to a Heavenly Supreme. He felt that Night Sorrow could not rely on these few hundred years to surpass him. Alright, then it's settled. I still have something to do. Goodbye. After Yi Shang finished speaking, he and Elder Su left the Exchange Pavilion. They had just walked out of the Exchange Loft when some people in the loft started discussing. Everyone knew that Night Sorrow and Lin Dongqing were the top 2 people in the last 2 batches. The battle between them was extremely interesting. Not long after, the news spread throughout the entire Lu Tian Academy. It attracted the attention of everyone. While everyone was discussing this matter, Night Sorrow, who had settled down Yun Yi and Xian Yan, began his crazy mission journey. There were still a few hundred years left. He was prepared to complete all the hidden missions. With his current strength, it was slightly difficult to complete such missions. However, he was prepared to break through to peak Earthly Supreme and Heavenly Supreme in the process of completing the missions. However, there was one part of the hidden missions that was extremely difficult for him to complete. That was to ascend the Flaming Mountain. He was prepared to study this mission at the end. After that, Yishang entered the battleground of the Killer Heaven and cleared some of the missions that had been difficult for him to complete. 100 years later, he only had 3 missions left to complete. That was to become a Heavenly Supreme, ascend the Mountain of Flames, and kill one of the Holy Lords of the Eternal Supreme World's 4 great holy lands. After giving it some thought, Night Sorrow decided to take the lead and complete the mission of killing the Holy Land's holy leader. However, when he returned to the Eternal Paragon world, he was prepared to wait for the heaven-defying bead. Therefore, in the following years, he waited while cultivating. Occasionally, he would enter the battlefield of the Killer Heaven to fight. Finally, after more than 200 years, the heaven-defying bead had successfully reached the half-step paramount realm. Now that the heaven-defying bead had advanced to half-step paramount realm, its aura was completely different. Moreover, he had attracted a lot of attention as soon as he entered Killer Heaven Academy. Knowing that he was here to look for Night Sorrow, some of the powerful old fellows restrained their auras. Congratulations, Senior Heaven-Defying. Seeing that the heaven-defying bead had advanced to half-step extreme realm, Night Sorrow said happily, Senior has successfully advanced. We can return to the Eternal Supreme World. Once I'm done dividing the godly sea-calming steel, I'll return to the Eternal Sovereign World with you. After being away from home for so long, it was time to go back and take a look. I hope I can find Master this time. After the heaven-defying bead finished speaking, he asked for the godly sea-calming steel from Night Sorrow and divided it into several parts. After that, Night Sorrow gathered everyone and finished all the godly sea-calming steel that everyone should have. He brought Ape Tianlai, the chaotic heavenly crystal beast, and the heaven-defying bead to the Eternal Supreme World. As for Bai Mei Sanren, Yun Yi, and Xian Yan, they all stayed in the fog area to develop. While rushing towards the Eternal Supreme World, Night Sorrow kept absorbing the energy in the godly sea-calming steel. At the same time, he got Little 7, Little 8, and Little 9 to convert a part of it. He was prepared to use the Eternal Divine Tower's ability to help him improve his strength as soon as possible. As for the Golden Heavenly Halberd, it only received a small enhancement, allowing it to reach the peak of the Heavenly Supreme level. But it did not advance to half-step Paramount Realm. Night Sorrow, we're already very close to the Eternal Supreme World. You can use the power of merit to purify the evil aura around me. On this day, Night Sorrow was cultivating when the heaven-defying bead suddenly spoke. Night Sorrow looked around. Wasn't that right? They were only a day's journey away from the Eternal Supreme World. He immediately said, Good. Senior Heaven-Defying Bead, prepare to welcome your true self. Good. The Heaven-Defying Bead laughed and said. Then, amidst the laughter of the Heaven-Defying Bead, Night Sorrow purified all the evil aura on his body. After the aura of the fog area was purified, the Heaven-Defying Bead immediately transformed into a sword. He said to Night Sorrow, Come, I'll carry you back to the Eternal Supreme World. Then, he let Night Sorrow stand on his body and flew back to the Eternal Supreme World with the appearance of sword flight. When they arrived at the Eternal Supreme World, Night Sorrow immediately came down and said, Night Sorrow can't always stand on Senior's body. After Night Sorrow's aura changed back, the Heaven-Defying Bead laughed and said, Back then, it was here that I followed my master to battle. It was really satisfying. Master flew on his sword and killed hundreds of heavenly sovereigns in the fog area in a row. He also defeated Limitless Sovereign and forced the army of the fog area to retreat. That kind of style was really unparalleled. Now, I'm just reminiscing about the feeling back then. You got lucky. Senior Yen and Senior Heaven-Defying Bead, one man can hold back 10,000 men. Night Sorrow is impressed. Senior Heaven-Defying Bead, could it be that you were beaten down in the battle back then? Night Sorrow asked with a frown. He knew that in the battle back then, although Yen and the heaven-defying beads stopped Limitless Sovereign's army at the border. But the price they paid must be incomparably huge. Hearing this, the heaven-defying bead sighed and said, "But now I'm back. This time, we not only have to resist the attack of the fog area, but also completely destroy the fog area. Let the eternal supreme world be peaceful forever." Actually, destroying the three supreme sovereigns is destroying the fog area. Currently, we are still a little far away. But it's not like we don't have a chance. Night Sorrow said firmly, then continued, "If we want to win, we have to unite the people of the eternal supreme world. Supreme Longevity and Senior Coiling Dragon Spear are already doing this, but I don't know how they're progressing." Coiling Dragon Spear? I know him. He's also called Coiling Dragon Spear, a divine weapon refined by Yen Heng. I remember that he was a supreme divine weapon back then. What kind of strength is he now? The heaven-defying bead asked. He still missed the Coiling Dragon Spear very much when they fought against the fog area back then. Senior Coiling Dragon Spear is the same as you, half-step Supreme Realm now, still a distance away from Supreme Realm. Night Sorrow said. He still respected seniors like Coiling Dragon Spear and the heaven-defying bead very much. Hearing this, the heaven-defying bead said, "Take me to see an old friend." "All right. We'll set off immediately. But first, I need to see my family," Night Sorrow said and rushed to the grotto heavens, wanting to see Jing Yun and Wu Lingfei. Night Sorrow still missed them very much. Chapter 32:17. When he arrived at the familiar grotto heavens, Night Sorrow was surprised to find that it had been razed to the ground. Those grotto heavens of various sizes had all disappeared. He was shocked and worried for Jing Yun, Wu Lingfei, and the rest. After thinking for a while, Night Sorrow immediately flew in the direction of the realm of gods. When he arrived at the realm of gods, he was shocked to find that the realm of gods was also empty. This made Night Sorrow break out in cold sweat. What's wrong? What's going on? Seeing that the realm of gods had been occupied by broken walls and ruins, Night Sorrow's heart was in his throat. Then he transmitted his voice to Jing Yun, Wu Lingfei, and the Supreme Longevity, but he did not get any response. This made Night Sorrow so nervous that all the hair on his body stood on end. He knew that something big must have happened in the Eternal Supreme's world while he was away. When this happened, Jing Yun, Wu Lingfei, and the rest should not have been able to contact him. Otherwise, they would have thought of a way to inform him in the fog. There must have been a great battle, or even a great catastrophe. Seeing everything that had happened in the realm of gods, Tian and I frowned. Then he and Yuan Tianlai comforted Night Sorrow together. Night Sorrow carefully observed the ruins for a while, then went to the forbidden area of the hunting area to look for the stone coffin that he did not dare to touch before. But he found that the stone coffin was long gone. Just as Night Sorrow was about to leave the forbidden area in disappointment, a golden demonic rock at the level of a lower supremacy suddenly flew over. Seeing him, Night Sorrow felt a sense of familiarity and said, "It's you. Can you tell me what happened in the realm of gods?" This golden demonic rock was one of the rock eggs that Night Sorrow had snatched back then. His lower supreme cultivation had already surpassed his parents and could be said to have surpassed his parents. After Night Sorrow spoke, he turned into his human form and said, "All these years, I have been cultivating in a small world. When I reached the lower supreme level and returned, this place was already like this. However, from the clues left behind by my two brothers, we can see that there is no one else. Most likely, the stone coffin here suddenly opened, and many experts came out from it. They were the ones who launched the fierce attack on the Eternal Paragon realm. The stone coffin contains a world. Looks like that stone coffin is indeed the legendary ancient burial coffin." Hearing Golden Demonic Rock's words, Night Sorrow immediately understood what was going on. At this moment, he was very worried for his family and friends. The Heavenly Realm's territory must have been destroyed. I wonder what the other territories are like. Should we go and take a look? The Golden Demonic Rock said. Just like Night Sorrow, he had lost contact with all his friends and family. He felt a little desperate. There was no time to lose. Enter my space paradise and I'll take you away. Thinking of the big and small grotto heavens and the God Realm's territories that had been destroyed, Night Sorrow immediately flew to other territories with the golden demonic rock. He flew past more than 30 territories, and all of them looked like they had been through a battle. There were ruins everywhere. The more they flew, the more nervous Night Sorrow became. There was even a kind of panic that he had not felt for many years. The territory in front seems to be fine. Just as Night Sorrow was feeling depressed, Tian and I suddenly spoke. At this time, he had recovered to the half-step extreme state. The distance that he could perceive with his godly soul power was further than Night Sorrow. Hearing this, Night Sorrow suddenly became a little more energetic and flew in the direction that Tian and I was pointing at. At a glance, Night Sorrow discovered that the territory in front of him was the Azure territory that he had some contact with before. He had even learned the other party's divine ability, Azure Sea Tide. He discovered that the Azure territory had not encountered any war and there were still holy spirits. Night Sorrow immediately brought Tian and I, Ape Tian Lai, and Golden Demonic Rock into the area where the Azure territory was located. In the Azure territory, they flew for about 2 hours. Night Sorrow suddenly saw an undersea city in the ocean. He immediately flew toward the ocean. The ocean of the Azure territory was completely different from the Sea of Evil. The seawater was blue and looked very clean, just like colored glass. However, Night Sorrow was not in the mood to appreciate this. He entered the sea and immediately sped up toward the undersea city. Because the cultivators guarding the city were too weak and only had the strength of an intermediate hegemon, Night Sorrow didn't waste any time on them. He flew directly into the city to investigate the stronger cultivators. Using his godly soul power to investigate, Night Sorrow was surprised to discover that there was an earthly sovereign here, and it was a middle earthly sovereign. An earthly sovereign and a middle earthly sovereign. When did the Azure territory have such an expert? While Yi Shang was puzzled, he flew directly toward the middle earthly sovereign. It was not until Night Sorrow entered the other party's mansion that the middle earthly sovereign realized that there was an expert here. He shouted, "Who are you? You don't need to know who I am. As long as you answer my questions honestly, I will protect you from death." Night Sorrow glanced at the middle earthly sovereign and confirmed that he was from the Azure territory. However, his aura seemed a little strange. He must have used some special method to raise his cultivation to such a level. Bastard! How arrogant of you! Die for this city lord! After Night Sorrow finished speaking, the middle earthly sovereign of the Azure territory immediately flew into a rage and attacked Night Sorrow. Moreover, he had comprehended the attack from the Azure Ocean. You directly used the Azure Sea. It seems that you have an even more powerful secret art or superpower. If I'm not wrong, you must have sided with those people. Night Sorrow immediately deduced many things when the other party used the secret art that was modified through the Azure Sea. He felt that the Azure territory was likely to have sided with those creatures that came out of the ancient coffin. Therefore, not only was the Azure territory not attacked, but they also obtained many resources that could quickly increase their strength. He did not even have to deal with the attack in front of him. It seems that you are the remnant of those destroyed territories? Good, very good. If I take you down, it will be a great achievement that can be exchanged for a large amount of resources. After listening to Night Sorrow, the middle earthly sovereign's face suddenly burst into a maniacal smile. You overestimate yourself. Why don't you take a look at the people in front of you? You are just an earthly sovereign, and you dare to show off in front of us. Facing the person in front of him, before Night Sorrow could do anything, Yen Tianlai, who was beside him, directly attacked. Leave him alive. Night Sorrow realized that Yen Tianlai's attack was too fierce, and immediately roared. I haven't fought with an earthly sovereign for a long time, so I can't control my strength well. Hearing Night Sorrow's words, Yen Tianlai laughed embarrassedly. The middle earthly sovereign in front of them was completely shocked. Chapter 32:18. The middle earthly sovereign of the Azure territory, Lan Qinghe, did not expect that a heavenly sovereign would suddenly appear in his own city. When Yen Tianlai attacked, he was so frightened that he immediately stopped. He knelt on the ground and begged for mercy. "Sir, please spare my life. I was blind." As he begged for mercy, he secretly used his god core strength to activate a piece of jade on his body. Yi Shang and the heaven-defying beast naturally noticed this, but they didn't stop him. For them, when a middle earthly sovereign summoned someone, he would definitely summon someone even more powerful. It might even be a creature that walked out of the ancient coffin. This was what they were most interested in. After Lan Qinghe begged for mercy, Night Sorrow immediately said coldly, "Tell me the current situation of the eternal supreme world. If you lie, your head will roll. My head will roll. When the lords arrive, you will be the ones to roll. I will let you be arrogant for a while." As Lan Qinghe thought to himself, he began to talk about everything that had happened in the eternal supreme world in the past few hundred years. It turned out that not long after Night Sorrow left, the world barrier in the ancient coffin was opened. A large number of otherworldly experts poured out from it. Although the eternal supreme world resisted under the leadership of Supreme Longevity and the rest. Among the otherworldly experts, there was a half-step to Supreme Realm expert. When this half-step to Supreme Realm expert appeared, many territories in the eternal supreme world chose to submit. After they submitted, they joined forces with the otherworldly experts to attack Supreme Longevity and the rest. Although the eternal supreme world had Coiling Dragon Spear and Supreme Longevity, they were still defeated. Supreme Longevity and Coiling Dragon Spear led a group of people to escape, but many others were captured or killed. After that, the territories that resisted the otherworldly experts were all destroyed. The territories that defected to the otherworldly experts were all rewarded and nurtured many heavenly sovereigns and earthly sovereigns. As for the two holy lands that defected to the otherworldly experts, Tianshao territory and Celestial Extinction territory, they produced even more experts. Not to mention earthly sovereigns, even the number of heavenly sovereigns could not be counted on one hand. As for their holy masters, they had already reached the level of upper heavenly sovereign and were infinitely close to reaching the half-step to Supreme Realm. What made Night Sorrow slightly relieved was that the Life Extension Estate, which shared the Grotto Heaven with the Divine World Estate and the Jiuxian Estate, did not choose to betray them. He fought alongside Supreme Longevity and the Coiling Dragon Spear to the very end before escaping with them. He had a certain level of integrity. I didn't expect that the people in the foggy area haven't attacked yet. My eternal supreme world has already been conquered by the alien race. When Yi Shang heard Lan Qinghe finish speaking, he sighed and asked, "Do you know where Eternal Life Supreme and the others escaped to?" "I don't know. It's not just me. No one in the entire Eternal Paragon world knows about it. Otherwise, the Lords of the Outsiders would have gone after them long ago. Some people suspect that they have entered the foggy area." Lan Qinghe shook his head. What he said was the truth. Everyone in the Eternal Paragon world, including the Outsiders, was searching for the Supreme Longevity. However, they could not find their whereabouts. Many people suspected that they had escaped into the foggy area. This speculation had no basis, but they could not think of where the Supreme Longevity and the others could hide. "Do you know how the people in the Divine World Estate are doing?" Night Sorrow waited for Lan Qinghe to finish before asking about the situation in the Divine World Estate. Jing Yun and Wu Lingfei were not the only ones in the Divine World Estate. There were also Xiao Tianxian, Myriad Sword Sect, Jin Xian, Zhu Feng, Supreme Golden Crow, and many other seniors. They were the ones he cared about the most. "I'm not sure. The Divine World Estate is not very eye-catching. I don't pay attention to them." Lan Qinghe continued, "I know quite a bit about the alien race." "Then tell me more about the Outsiders. How many of them are there? How strong are they? Where are they now?" Night Sorrow asked. He knew that there would be a huge battle between him and the alien race. It was necessary to know about them beforehand. The alien race is called the Heaven-Deceiving Tribe, also known as the heaven-deceiving tribe. They have countless experts. The most powerful one is Marquis Lung Wu, who is half a step to the supreme realm. His battle prowess could reach the heavens. Even the coiling dragon spear is no match for him. Lan Qingqi said respectfully. He was very afraid of the alien race. At this moment, he received a voice transmission from the heaven-deceiving tribe's expert. They were not far away, and he asked him to delay Night Sorrow and the others. Lan Qingqi immediately replied, "Sir, I will try my best to delay them and not let them leave." After that, he continued to chat with Night Sorrow and the others. He talked about their guesses about Yan's whereabouts. "You know something about Yan Jizuan?" Hearing Lan Qingqi mention some legends about Yan, Night Sorrow immediately asked. He knew that this was what the heaven-defying bead was most interested in. "I heard some rumors. I know a little." Lan Qingqi looked at Night Sorrow and then at Yan Tianlai. As he cursed in his heart, he continued, "Legend has it that Yan Jizuan is resting in a sacred mountain in the eternal supreme world. Recuperating in seclusion on a divine mountain? Which sacred mountain?" Night Sorrow glanced at Lan Qingqi and scolded, "Tell me everything at once." Lan Qingqi replied. He cursed Night Sorrow countless times in his heart. However, he kept saying, "The legendary Purple Jade's sacred mountain. It's just that no one can find where this Purple Jade's sacred mountain is." "Purple Jade's sacred mountain? Senior heaven-defying, have you heard of it?" Night Sorrow asked the heaven-defying bead through voice transmission after Lan Qingqi finished speaking. The current heaven-defying bead was restraining his aura and suppressing his aura. Otherwise, Lan Qingqi would not have been suppressed by his divine realm until he could not speak. "Purple Jade's sacred mountain, this name sounds familiar. But I'm not my complete self, so I can't remember it clearly," the heaven-defying bead said regretfully. The situation was a little confusing. Originally, I just wanted to come back to see my family and complete a mission. Looks like there are a lot of things that need to be done. Night Sorrow sighed. Originally, he thought that with the coiling dragon spear, supreme longevity could easily unify the eternal supreme world. But he did not expect a heaven-deceiving tribe to appear halfway and make the eternal supreme world a colonized land. For now, it's best for us to find supreme longevity and the coiling dragon spear and join forces with them to kill the experts of the heaven-deceiving tribe. Then, lead the remaining forces of the eternal supreme world and kill all the traitors. Take back the eternal supreme world. The heaven-defying bead frowned and sent a voice transmission to Night Sorrow. He did not expect that his hometown, which he had not seen for a long time, had completely fallen. His heart was heavy. These things must be done. But to me, the most important thing is to find out the whereabouts of my family and friends. The heaven-deceiving tribe is almost here. We'll talk about other things after we take them down. Sensing that the heaven-deceiving tribe was not far away, Night Sorrow said coldly. Chapter 32:19. When he said this, Night Sorrow did not use telepathy. Therefore, Lan Qingqi heard it clearly. He stopped smiling and looked at Night Sorrow. "You know that the heaven-deceiving strange tribe, no, the heaven-deceiving deity tribe is coming. You still dare to be so arrogant. You are really courting death. It seems that in your heart, the heaven-deceiving strange tribe cultivators are invincible." Night Sorrow looked at Lan Qingqi and sneered. Hearing this, Lan Qingqi said proudly, "Of course. The heaven-deceiving deity tribe has the ability to reach heaven and earth. It is the honor of the eternal supreme world to be their servant." His words seemed to come from the bottom of his heart. It made Night Sorrow feel a little nauseous. He said disdainfully, "Being someone's servant is an honor. The future of the eternal supreme world no longer needs slaves like you. The future of the eternal supreme world belongs to the heaven-deceiving deity tribe. What does it have to do with you?" At this moment, a cold voice sounded. Yishang lifted his eyes to look at the sea and saw more than 10 heavenly sovereigns flying down from the sea. "Heaven-deceiving deity tribe? You guys are really good at flattering yourselves. Hearing this, Yen Tianlai immediately shouted in disdain. Although there were more than 10 heavenly sovereigns, he knew that with the heaven-defying beast and Night Sorrow around, nothing would be a problem. Naturally, he was not afraid of them. Bastard! How dare you insult the deity tribe? You are a fugitive from the eternal supreme world. You will definitely be punished cruelly. Before the heaven-deceiving strange tribe people arrived, a voice shouted arrogantly. Hearing this, Lan Qingqi looked at Yen Tianlai with sympathy and said, "You are finished. You will be subjected to the cruelest torture in the world. Even death will become a luxury. No one in the world can protect you. You're such a good dog." How could Lan Cheng have finished speaking? Yen Tianlai scolded him and slapped him on the head. Half of Lan Qingqi's head was smashed, causing him to roar in pain. However, the vitality of an earthly sovereign was still very tenacious. Even though half of Lan Cheng's head was smashed, he did not die immediately. How dare you lay your hands on a servant of the deceiving deity race? That's an additional crime. Yen Tianlai smashed Lan Qingqi's head. The heaven-deceiving outsider race's people were too far away to help, so they shouted coldly. Another crime? You guys sure talk big. Do you think this world already belongs to your heaven-deceiving race? The people of the sky-deceiving tribe gave off a feeling of superiority, which made Yen Tianlai very unhappy. The heaven-defying bead had been watching coldly from the sidelines. However, in his eyes, the cultivators of the god race who had come to bully the heavens were all dead. Upon hearing Ape Tianlai's words, the members of the sky-deceiving tribe replied haughtily, "The eternal realms naturally belong to the sky-deceiving divine tribe. We are the new masters of this world. Do you have any objections to this matter?" Objection my ass. That. When the heaven-deceiving outsiders approached, Yen Tianlai, who was in a bad mood, roared and attacked them. Night Sorrow took out the lower half of the eternal divine tower and used it to attack. Lower heavenly sovereigns and upper earthly sovereigns. No wonder you guys are so arrogant. Do you think that lower heavenly sovereigns and upper earthly sovereigns are very strong in the eyes of barbarians like you? Let me tell you, there are tens of thousands of cultivators in the heaven-deceiving divine tribe who are stronger than you. The leader of the heaven-deceiving tribe was a cultivator with 3 horns on his head. His cheeks were smeared with bright red blood. He looked extremely evil. He had the cultivation of a middle heavenly sovereign, so he looked disdainfully at Night Sorrow and Yen Tianlai, who were fighting. In his eyes, Night Sorrow and Yen Tianlai were 2 barbarians who had never seen the world. The god race is mighty. Lan Qingqi, who was standing at the side, immediately shouted when he saw the people of the heaven-deceiving tribe approaching and fighting with Night Sorrow and the others. In his opinion, once the people of the heaven-deceiving tribe started fighting, Night Sorrow and Yen Tianlai would no longer have the chance to attack them. He had already been saved, so he was very excited. Boom! Just as Lan Qingqi was shouting happily, Night Sorrow used the eternal divine tower to attack and sent a cultivator of the heaven-deceiving tribe flying. As the cultivator was sent flying, Night Sorrow took out his golden heavenly halberd, which was already at the peak of the heavenly sovereign level, and smashed the cultivator's danton. After smashing the cultivator's den, Night Sorrow said coldly, "Judging from your tone, you are like undefeatable gods of war. How can you be so weak? Won't you die when your dantian is smashed?" After smashing the cultivator's dantian, Night Sorrow crushed the cultivator's divine soul before anyone could react. He had killed him completely. How dare you kill a member of the god race? You will suffer the most terrifying punishment in the world. Take him down. The leader of the heaven-deceiving tribe said furiously. To him, the cultivators of the eternal sovereign world were a bunch of trash. He felt that it was not worth it to have one of his subordinates killed by trash. What are you so excited about? All of you must die today. Night Sorrow said murderously when he saw the heaven-deceiving tribe leader's anger. The other party was still acting high and mighty at this moment, which made him very unhappy. That it won't be so easy for you to die. After the leader of the heaven-deceiving tribe spoke, They immediately surrounded Night Sorrow. The number of cultivators dealing with Yen Tianlai was reduced to 1. You left only one person to deal with me? You are looking down on me. Seeing that the heaven-deceiving tribe only used one person to deal with him, Yen Tianlai immediately flew into a rage. Although he had not entered the Heaven Slaughtering Academy, he was still one of the geniuses of the Fog region. Being ignored like this, he immediately exploded. He directly burned his bloodline power and tore the heaven-deceiving tribe cultivator in front of him into pieces. This is the result of looking down on me. After tearing the heaven-deceiving tribe cultivator into pieces, Yen Tianlai roared at the sky. You have guts. How dare you kill the lord of the heaven-deceiving tribe? You will die a horrible death. Lan Qingqi said in disbelief when he saw Night Sorrow and Yen Tianlai kill the heaven-deceiving tribe cultivators one after another. Clearly, what Night Sorrow and Yen Tianlai did was beyond his imagination. A piece of trash like you is really born with the enslavement bone. There's no value in your existence. However, I will leave you alive until all these heaven-deceiving tribe cultivators are dead. Lan Qingqi was so enraged that Yen Tianlai almost choked. At this moment, the leader of the heaven-deceiving tribe roared coldly, You killed 2 warriors of the god tribe in a row. You really have guts. After roaring, he cooperated with the other heaven-deceiving tribe cultivators and attacked together. They surrounded Night Sorrow and Ape Tianlai and launched a flurry of attacks. Under such circumstances, Yen Tianlai looked at Heaven Defying and said, Senior, why aren't you attacking? Chapter 32:20. I'm thinking about how to torture and kill these pieces of trash to be cruel enough. They have already completely ignited my anger. Tian and I said coldly when he heard Yen Tianlai's words. Who do you think you are? How dare you boast so shamelessly? The triangular leader of the heaven-deceiving race was enraged when he heard Tian Ni's words. Until now, he still had a premonition in his heart. Haha. Hearing this before Tian and I could speak, Yen Tianlai laughed loudly. In his opinion, this leader of the heaven-deceiving race was really reckless. Senior Tian and I. We only need to leave a leader and an ordinary heaven-deceiving race member behind. At this time, Night Sorrow was being besieged by a group of heaven-deceiving race heavenly sovereigns and felt a little pressured. Hence, he asked Tian and I to attack. All right. Then kill them first, then think about how to torture this fool in front of me. Tian and I replied and then directly released a half-step extreme realm divine domain. He attacked continuously at the heaven-deceiving race members. In front of a half-step extreme realm expert, how could these heavenly sovereigns in front of him have any ability to resist? They were quickly killed by Tian and I. Seeing Tian and I start a massacre, Lan Qingqi was scared out of his wits. He did not say a word for a long time. The leader of the heaven-deceiving race was also stunned. He looked at Tian and I with astonishment and said, Why, you are a half-step extreme realm expert. Only now did I realize that your eyesight is really bad. Didn't you want to torture Night Sorrow and Yen Tianlai? Why haven't you attacked yet? Tian and I looked at the triangular leader of the heaven-deceiving race and said, Don't think that you're invincible just because you're a half-step extreme realm expert. To my heaven-deceiving race, dealing with you isn't that difficult. Now, I'll give you a chance to join my heaven-deceiving race. The triangular leader of the heaven-deceiving race was still very nervous facing Tian and I. But after calming down for a while, he forced himself to be calm and said, You want me to join your heaven-deceiving race? Who do you think you are? Are you worthy? Tian and I laughed disdainfully when he heard the other party's words. At this time, the triangular leader of the heaven-deceiving race still wanted to say something. But Night Sorrow interrupted, Enough nonsense. Now, I'll ask you a question, and you'll answer me via voice transmission. If you hesitate, you will immediately suffer the cruelest treatment. Don't even think about getting anything out of me. When Night Sorrow spoke, the triangular leader of the sky-deceiving tribe immediately spoke disdainfully. But with the heaven-defying beat here, he had no intention of escaping at all. Noisy. As soon as the triangular leader finished speaking, Ape Tianlai immediately tore off one of his arms. However, the leader of the heaven-deceiving alien race was quite unyielding. Although he was grimacing in pain, he still didn't say anything. Not good. He's transmitting his voice to the other heaven-deceiving alien races. Night Sorrow saw the triangular leader of the heaven-deceiving tribe and quickly reacted. He understood that this fellow didn't run or speak because he was transmitting his voice to the other heaven-deceiving alien races. He immediately made his move and killed him. After he killed the triangular leader, Night Sorrow gazed at the last remaining member of the Heaven Deceiver race and said, "You'll have a chance to live if you answer my questions honestly." That's right. Since they can join your heaven-deceiving race, then you heaven-deceiving race can join us too. Ape Tianlai opened his mouth wide and said, "If you don't answer our questions properly, I'll eat you directly." "What do you want to ask?" The last remaining cultivator of the heaven-deceiving tribe forced himself to remain calm. Before he came here, he had a premonition. But now, he didn't dare to be arrogant at all. "Let me ask you, do you know what happened to the people from the divine world? Did they escape with the supreme longevity, or?" Night Sorrow didn't finish his sentence. But this cultivator of the heaven-deceiving tribe called Dark Touch clearly understood what he meant. He knew that Night Sorrow came from the divine world. After thinking for a moment, he said, "The divine world you're talking about is the same as the supreme longevity. Some of them died in battle, but most of them escaped with the supreme longevity. There are also a few who were captured and imprisoned in the heavenly owl territory. Do you know the names of those who died in battle and those who were captured in the divine world?" Night Sorrow asked worriedly. Actually, he knew that the other party wouldn't know such things, but he still tried to ask. "I'm not sure about that. It's already not easy for us heaven-deceiving tribe to remember tens of thousands of your territories. How can we remember people's lives?" Dark Touch said helplessly. "What else do you know? Tell me everything." This answer was what Night Sorrow had expected. He didn't ask and continued. "Sir." Dark Touch didn't dare to resist Night Sorrow's words at all. He opened his mouth and told him everything he knew. It turned out that the heaven-deceiving tribe's cultivators had set up their headquarters in the Jiao Xian territory and Ming Yen territory. They also had people in the Heavenly Owl territory and the Immortal Extinction territory. There were also many heaven-deceiving tribe cultivators patrolling the Eternal Supreme World. They were one of the patrolling groups. "Let's go to the Heavenly Owl territory to save people." After the heaven-deceiving tribe's Dark Touch finished speaking, Night Sorrow immediately looked at Tian and I and Yen Tianlai and said, "But we'll save the people in the Divine World territory with you." After Night Sorrow finished speaking, Tian and I and Yen Tianlai responded at the same time. Night Sorrow and the two of them, under the lead of Dark Touch, rushed to the Heavenly Owl territory. Night Sorrow asked Dark Touch about the overall strength of the heaven-deceiving tribe. Hearing this question, Dark Touch, who had already made a heavenly Tao oath, immediately told him about the overall strength of the heaven-deceiving tribe. It turned out that there were still many people in the ancient coffin who hadn't come out. As for the half-step extreme realm experts, they had a total of 3. Now, only one of them had come to the Eternal Supreme World to fight. As for the location of the ancient coffin, Dark Touch didn't know at all. A cultivator of his level couldn't come into contact with that kind of secret. After this matter, Dark Touch said, "Sir, I've been to the Heavenly Owl territory before. The guards are very tight and the defensive array is very powerful. It's not suitable to barge in. But if you can transform into the appearance of the heaven-deceiving tribe, it'll be much easier to sneak in. It's a pity that those heaven-deceiving tribe cultivators were all killed by me. Otherwise, I could refine them into puppets." Tian and I said with some regret. "So what if they were killed? The heaven-deceiving tribe is now occupying our Eternal Supreme World. Aren't there many teams patrolling? We'll just find another team to attack." After Night Sorrow finished speaking, he, Tian and I and the rest went to find the heaven-deceiving tribe team. They were prepared to kill them and refine them into puppets. Chapter 32:21. These heaven-deceiving other race cultivators should be used to running amok. Let them have a taste of being hunted. Deciding to find the heaven-deceiving other race cultivators, Yen Tianlai rubbed his fists and said, Eternal Supreme World was his hometown. After returning after tens of millions of years, it was occupied by the heaven-deceiving other race cultivators. This made him, who had a violent temperament, very unhappy. As for Dark Touch of the heaven-deceiving other race, he struggled a little in the beginning. But after finishing off a small team, he gradually let go of his former identity. After all, he had made a heavenly Tao oath and could not disobey Night Sorrow and Yen Tianlia's orders. By the time they arrived near Heavenly Owl territory, they had already killed 5 small teams and dozens of heaven-deceiving other race cultivators. After killing many heaven-deceiving other race cultivators, Night Sorrow did not want to expose himself in Heavenly Owl territory. He subdued 6 to 7 ordinary heaven-deceiving other race cultivators and purified them with the power of merit. When preparing to enter Heavenly Owl territory, he controlled the heaven-deceiving other race captain puppet while Dark Touch and the rest all used the heaven-deceiving other race perfected one. This way, the possibility of being exposed would be much lower. And after Night Sorrow and the rest consecutively killed the heaven-deceiving other race teams, it directly caused a huge shock in Eternal Supreme World. Because at this time, the remaining 4,000+ territories in Eternal Supreme World were all subservient to the heaven-deceiving other race. Once this matter was spread out, he would be able to make a decision. Night Sorrow, who was controlling the puppet, put Heaven Defying and the rest into the spatial grotto heaven and came to Heavenly Owl territory under the guise of looking for suspicious people. Lords, what business do you have in Heavenly Owl territory? After Night Sorrow and the rest, who had transformed into the heaven-deceiving other race, appeared, Heavenly Owl territory sent 3 to 4 elders in charge of receiving them. One of them was Heavenly Owl territory's Grand Elder, Fang Shiyun. Usually, he was called Heavenly Supreme Shu Yuan by the people of Eternal Supreme World. In fact, he had already heard of the commotion outside and was still somewhat nervous at this time. The people of Heavenly Owl territory were even more afraid of the heaven-deceiving other race than Night Sorrow imagined. The former Holy Land is really unbearable. In the Holy Land, they were ranked in the top few and could practically call the shots. But in the face of a heaven-deceiving other race captain, they were actually so humble. How can they be worthy of being called a holy land? Night Sorrow, who was controlling the team leader puppet, said in disdain in his heart. He then said coldly, Recently, my god race's patrol teams have been killed one after another. I'm here to track down the murderer. Dark Touch, tell me what's going on. He felt that since he was a fake, it would be better for him to speak as little as possible. Thus, he let the dark contact fill in the blanks. This would obviously increase the authenticity of the matter. Yes, sir. When Dark Touch heard this, he immediately understood. After responding, he began to speak in an overbearing manner. How could something like this happen in the current Eternal Sovereign world? This matter cannot be tolerated, absolutely not tolerated. Heavenly Sovereign Shu Yuan let out a sigh and promised, Esteemed emissaries, I'm here. This matter absolutely has nothing to do with my Heavenly Owl territory. The sun and moon can bear witness to the loyalty of my Heavenly Owl territory to the deceiving deity race. Whether or not your loyalty can be witnessed by the sun and the moon can only be confirmed after an investigation. Blood School Sickle had encountered those murderers and successfully escaped. If he saw the murderer again, he would be able to recognize him. You call everyone in Heavenly Owl territory out. Let them identify him. If there's no problem, the god race naturally won't haggle with you. Night Sorrow, who had already thought of how to deal with this matter in his heart, opened his mouth and said slowly. Although his voice was not very loud, his aura was ample, containing the domineeringness of the deceiving deity race inside. This esteemed emissary. My Heavenly Owl territory has a total of several tens of thousands of people from top to bottom. Wanting to gather all of them will likely require a large amount of time. After Night Sorrow finished speaking, Heavenly Sovereign Shu Yuan revealed an awkward expression. Very clearly, to their Heavenly Owl territory, being casually investigated by a heaven-deceiving deity race squad was the greatest humiliation. If they gathered all of the several tens of thousands of people, that Heavenly Owl Holy Lord would have nowhere to put his face at all. Do you mean to make my god race send out several tens of thousands of people to investigate this matter? Don't forget how you yourself advanced to Heavenly Sovereign. Does the current Heavenly Owl territory feel that its wings are fully fledged and ready to resist the god race? After Heavenly Sovereign Shu Yuan finished speaking, the Dark Touch who received Night Sorrow's instructions berated coldly. Dare not. Dare not. Everyone, don't misunderstand. Shu Yuan doesn't mean that. Hearing this, beads of sweat directly flowed down Heavenly Sovereign Shu Yuan's forehead. Pausing for a moment, he continued, I can't decide on this matter. Why don't everyone go and have a talk with the Lord Holy Lord? The impact of this matter was huge. If Heavenly Sovereign Shu Yuan rashly gathered all of the Heavenly Owl territory's cultivators and allowed them to be investigated by the heaven-deceiving deity race, that would be a huge humiliation. Although they had already surrendered, they were also unwilling to do so. It should have been like this long ago. If you can't make the decision, what are you talking nonsense for? Towards Heavenly Sovereign Shu Yuan, the heaven-deceiving deity race's blood school sickle scolded disdainfully. Due to being born in the heaven-deceiving deity race, these people were not required to swear heavenly Tao oaths and so on at all. But at this time, they had already sworn an oath to be loyal to Night Sorrow. If they violated it, they would immediately be bombarded by heavenly Tao laws. The few of them were still considered loyal up until now. Taking in their performance, Night Sorrow thought to himself, these heaven-deceiving deity race cultivators are really easy to control. Much easier to control than those in the eternal supreme world. I wonder if I can make their entire race submit completely if I have enough strength, and then help us fight against the fog region. He knew in his heart that currently he did not have the ability to make the heaven-deceiving deity race submit, but he had already secretly planted the seed of this in his heart. After Heavenly Sovereign Shu Yuan was reprimanded, although he was somewhat dissatisfied, he did not dare to show it at all. After replying politely, he went to invite the Heavenly Owl Territory's Lord Holy Lord. Night Sorrow, after the Heavenly Owl Territory's Lord Holy Lord appears, should I directly take action and control him? As long as I control him, saving people will definitely not be a problem. When Heavenly Sovereign Shu Yuan went to find the Heavenly Owl Holy Lord, the heaven-defying deity sent a voice transmission to Night Sorrow. We'll see the situation later and adapt according to the situation. Let's observe this Heavenly Owl Holy Lord's strength and attitude first. While Night Sorrow sent a voice transmission to the heaven-defying deity, he constantly used his divine spirit power to investigate everything around him. When he noticed the formation patterns, he used the sea serpent's eye to observe them. He discovered that the array formations in this reception hall in front of him were still very powerful. He was not too confident in taking action. Hence, he opened his mouth and said, if we take action later, we need to lure this Heavenly Owl Holy Lord out of here first. The array formations here are not easy to deal with. The array formations here shouldn't be able to stop me. If the Heavenly Owl Territory doesn't have a half-step extreme realm present, the moment this Heavenly Owl Holy Lord appears, he will be captured by me. At this moment, the heaven-defying deity said confidently, you're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.